Hey, what's going on, everybody? Um, we're doing a bit of a different stream today. So there is a conversation scheduled to happen in a couple minutes here on Clubhouse. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. But yeah, we're doing a bit of a different stream today. There's a Clubhouse conversation scheduled to start any minute now. They're tackling the question of, are transamorous men considered chasers? Yeah, that's the conversation. So there will be men and women kind of just talking about it. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of debate or not, but there will be a lot of conversation about this. And I am going to stream the conversation live. And everyone who has any thoughts on the conversation or want to respond to anything in the conversation, please do so in the comments. I'm giving y'all full liberty to, but it won't be me. It won't be my main man, Mike Brooklyn. So Mike, it won't be us here on the stream the whole time. You are just going to see something like this. And, you're going to see this thing, and this is all you're going to see. So it's a little bit different today, but we're gonna stream the conversation in full, and then afterwards we are going to have more of our own conversation about this shit. So get ready, strap yourselves in for a long stream, a long conversation. I will be showing comments in the video here as they arise. I will not be reading them, so for those of you listening in audio, don't worry, it's not going to be interrupted. But yeah, so just strap yourselves in. We will see y'all after after the conversation is done, so we can have a little post-show wrap up. So oops, it didn't start yet. It's supposed to start at 8 o'clock. I don't know if folks is on TV time or not. As soon as it start, we're gonna get it cracking.
Yeah, you don't want my opinion on that.
If you do have an iPhone and download Clubhouse, you can follow me, and that's your way in. So follow me at MLU Chris or Big Chris Texas TX on Clubhouse, and once you follow me, you'll see that I'm in the conversation, and that will be how you get into the Clubhouse conversation. So please just stand by with us, and Unique. Yes, hopefully it'll be a good one. Hopefully, as soon as this conversation starts, as soon as somebody starts it.
I mean, first rule of podcasting, I'm just saying, if you have a scheduled time, be on time.
Yeah, we are. There's a scheduled time, but this is Clubhouse, and this is a conversation put on by a Clubhouse group called the Elite Lounge. Mm-hmm. So it's an LGBT group that's doing this conversation. We will have ourselves a neutral. Let me put on quotes. A neutral moderator, which is a cis gay male. But it will be women, me. Troy Kennedy should be on there as well. I don't know what is the holdup and how, if this is starting or not, but what's going on?
Wait, Troy Kennedy is supposed to be on what, this live stream?
Yeah, no, he's going to be on the Clubhouse conversation. So again, everybody who is tuning in, this is a Clubhouse conversation. We will stream live. They are asking the question. This is as it has been written by this LGBT group. Are trans amorous men considered chasers? There will be trans women in the conversation. There will be cis men. Well, I'm the only cis man in it, I guess. There's hopefully there will be another that joins me. But as soon as they get this started, we are going to we're going to take ourselves off, and you guys will be able to listen to this conversation live as it's happening. Please comment throughout the conversation. I will feature your comments here as it's going on. If you want to get in the conversation and speak your piece, get on Clubhouse. It's only for people with iPhones. Sorry, Android users. Download Clubhouse and follow me at MLU Chris or at Big Chris TX. Either one of those, both of those accounts will be in this room. So if you follow me on either one of those accounts, you'll be able to get in. And then once you're in, you can raise your hand and get invited up on stage and speak your piece. So I don't know why the fuck they ain't starting yet, but I'm going to message this girl like, yo, we doing this or what? What the fuck?
Doesn't sound very professional to me.
Sorry please, everybody, just stand by. I think it'll get some pretty dope conversation.
Yeah, don't mind me over here throwing shade.
Yeah, but you'll get some really dope conversation, and it should be fun here. Just kind of waiting for this thing to start. I don't know what the fuck. Oh my goodness, it better not be no, if it was 8 p.m. Central, it would already happen. So, it's happening now. Sorry, y'all. Please stand by again. We are going to live stream a Clubhouse conversation on our trans amorous men considered chasers. We are going to stream it in full. While it is streaming, I won't be on video. Nope. Mike won't be on video. Nobody will be on video. We're just going to stream the audio of this whole conversation live, and it should be pretty cool. I got a little jerry rig situation up there. Don't talk too much shit about my setup. I tried to do the whole screen share thing. It wouldn't work. So it is like a camera shooting the surface of the iPhone, it's going to be this. So this is what you will be looking at the whole time.
Which is fine. That's fine.
So it's no way to get on. Yeah, there's no way to get into this. There's no way to get into this Clubhouse conversation, that ain't the real one. That's just another one I jumped in for testing. But there's no way to get in the Clubhouse conversation unless you have an iPhone. So you have to download the app Clubhouse. But I don't know what the F is happening, but I feel like I'm going to just start this thing if ain't nobody else doing nothing. So just give me a second, y'all, and we're going to get all this shit set up, okay? Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Can I get a moderator?
Oops, sorry about that. So, Troy,
would like to come to be on stage. Hey, Asia.
Hi, can I get a moderator meeting, please?
Hello. Hey. Oh, you just mentioned my name. I caught the tail end of what you were saying. For sure. I don't know.
It's me and you. I guess it's me and you because everybody else is kind of preoccupied, but I think we should kind of. Can I go ahead and get a moderator meeting so I can start bringing some people up to join the discussion?
I can make you a moderator, but I thought this was supposed to be pretty much transamorous man talking. I don't know where everybody else is or where they're at, but I'm pinging some folks. One person up here. Some more ladies up in here. Shout out to everybody listening to this. I am playing this conversation back for my own listeners. Okay. There's D. All right. So wait, are you for real? Like everybody else preoccupied? They're not doing this right now?
I'm pinging them in, but I don't see anyone else coming. How did I get on stage?
I'm screaming. Oh, I'm sorry. Shaquan, are you supposed to be the moderator?
I actually don't know what's going on right now. Me either.
Okay. Well,
I actually thought this room was paid for the night, so I'm just shocked this year.
Yeah. So, anywho, well, fuck it, we'll just start it off. And from my understanding from the folks who organized the room, the elite.
Some of them prefer to date pre-op and some prefer post-op. Now, the conversation of what they prefer was a big controversial topic because some of the girls felt like because a man dates only trans women, he prefers a trans woman who still has her part that now is turned into a fetish. I completely disagree with it. When me and Chris had the conversation and he gave me more clarity on it and all of those Okay, so I guess Chris, you can go into it and give us the understanding of what exactly transamorous is.
Okay. I would say anyone who identifies as transgender, at the bare minimum, somebody who is claiming not to be living a DL lifestyle. So, however, whoever they engage with in the community, they're not doing it in a way where you will be the secret. You know, they will hide you, be ashamed of you. A lot of these guys are the kinds of men who are saying that we are going to be allies, we are going to be protectors of the community. Even if a guy who claims to be transamorous isn't exactly relationship focused, he's still claiming to maneuver in a way that's honest and earnest that doesn't harm members of the community. This is a group of men that is, very diverse. So, there are lots of guys in this space who identify as transgenderous, who don't care what, who still have sex with cis women, trans women together, they go their way. There are men who prefer, they partner up with somebody, when we're talking relationships, they can go pre or post in terms of trans women. And then, there are other guys in this space who also just prefer. So, obviously that's something that everybody knows is just a genital preference, but there are lots of different kinds of guys in this space. So it isn't like just one whole group that are all exactly the same, just like, community at large is not one monolith. There's a lot of different opinions, just like Chanel had described earlier. So, but that's basically what Timbers is. Now, I mean, it is just a title. It is just an identifying marker. Somebody can identify as that, whatever, So, a lot of guys who are transamorous who only date women in the trans community. A lot of times we're choosing to do this because these are the kinds of women that we want to partner with long term. A lot of the guys in this space are looking for that forever partner, that life love, that wife, so to speak. So, that's why a lot of times when people equate the guys in this space to trade, trade ain't looking to put a ring on that finger. Trade ain't looking to introduce him to his parents. So,
Okay, so when you explain.
Excuse me one second, President. A lot of those guys are already married.
Okay, well, hello, Troy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Thank you for coming to the Elite Lounge.
You're more than welcome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Oh Lord, have mercy, Jesus. Okay, my name is Troy. I live in Metro Detroit. I am probably one of the older guys in said community, and there are reasons why we started using that term. I can get into that later, but I'm in financial services. I'll be 57 years old next month. And I've been openly dating trans women for 20. Well, now it's about 22 years.
Oh wow. So when Chris broke everything down to me like he just did, I understood it because I thought there was this misconception that amorous men are the T word chasers. And at first I said, well, I don't think a man who dates a trans woman openly should be considered a chaser. If he's dating a trans woman openly and this is who he wants to be with, why should he be considered a chaser? And I got a lot of backlash for that. I caught a lot of backlash for it.
Trade should be considered chasers because trade don't even want to take you home.
And that's why trade and transamorous are two different things. I look at trade now, and let me know when I can get on the docket. Okay, one second. I'm gonna.
Okay, let me say this. I just left my ex's house. We are not together. We were together for 10 years. I just drove to New York last weekend to pick her up. and bring her back to Detroit. Just left her parents' house. Her parents and my parents are the best of friends. She prefers New York. I hate New York. Love her to death. I'm not moving to New York. So we have a great relationship. My sons who are grown, 34 and 23, well, one soon to be 35 in a couple weeks. They still call her mom to this day. They still reach out to her when they have issues or problems or need to talk or want to fuss about me. So these relationships and these connections that we have are real. When you start to talk about trade and talk about things like that, for a lot of guys, we feel it's outright disrespectful because, first of all, you don't listen to our stories, you don't hear our stories, and because of all the hostility that a lot of men get, what's the point of having a conversation with people who don't want to listen?
Well, for me, this is Jasmine from Miami. For me, I tell people all the time, and I have to tell them because they always say, this person is the train chaser, that person is the train chaser. And to me, I personally believe that, my belief, if you are a man who is attracted to trans women and you are open to dating her, showing her off, introducing her to people, I would not consider you a train chaser or whatever they want to consider. Because Trey is not going to try to public, and Trey not going to show you off to his kids or his wife or his family and stuff like that. Trey wants you to be that hidden secret for someone who they can chit chat and talk to on the low behind closed doors at the midnight hour, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And for me, that's who I would consider a tranny chaser. But someone who was confident with themselves, who know what they want, who know what they're looking for. I'm not gonna consider you a tranny chaser. I'm gonna consider you a man. So, bitch, I wish I could find me a motherfucking man here in Miami that would date my high yellow ass. So yeah, that's how it is, man.
I wanted to say something, so only because it's a mixed room with a mixed audience. Maybe we should be a little bit mindful of using the T word because some of these people be knowing that it's a slur and they hear it and be like, oh my God, it's just another word for transgender. Having said that, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Thankfully, I am in a relationship already, but if a man came up to me or something, was calling himself a transamorous person, I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust it at all. I couldn't date him. I would just be done with the situation. I feel like for me, it's this, and I've said this before. I feel like you got pansexual, you got bisexual, you got heterosexual. All these words you could call yourself. I don't need an extra term just to define men who only are interested in marrying trans women. It's not giving what I'm looking for. I'm uncomfortable with the term, so I know people call themselves that, but I know defining it in the words don't make Dominique comfortable with it. This is Dominique, and I'm finished speaking. I'm gonna give y'all stage back because that's all I'm going to say about the situation.
I'd love to chime back in if it's possible. Hello. You have the floor. Okay. And Chris knows this story. A few weeks ago, I went to see one of my old franchisees and had a conversation about someone who killed themselves back in January. He happened to be married to a cis woman, but he had an attraction to trans women. His wife found out. Well, they were going through a nasty divorce, and she threatened to out him and drag him across the floor. Because I'm out and open, because I'm somebody who has shared this, and people know, and they knew my ex-girlfriend, and she was my life partner. My franchisee literally said, "Hey, reach out to Troy." Troy. We talked to Troy. Troy can talk you through this. He chose to drive to the office and shoot himself in the head because he thought he was alone. He thought he couldn't talk to anyone. He didn't know how to have those conversations. So I think Dominique spoke last. She doesn't like it. Well, really, it's not for you, because there are men who are killing themselves. There are men who are killing trans women because they don't know how to self-identify. They don't know how to talk about. They don't know how to put
things into words and have open and honest conversations. And as long as we pretend like it should be something that's normal, but with religion and with colonialism, it's been demonized. And so men are socially conditioned to be cis heteronormative and nothing else. Anything else means you're less than a man. And if we as men don't stand up and say, brother, you're all right and I got your back, then who else is going to do that? And again, this is not for you. You can be upset about it, you can get sideways about it, and you cannot deal with men who use that term. That's on you. But we need this for us because I have seen too many people. I've known too many women who die. I've known too many men who have fucked over their wives, the cisgendered wives. I used to be one of them because I didn't know how to have these conversations and to be open and honest with myself. So I chose years ago to step up and start speaking. But as long as you think that everything is just copacetic and normal, it's not. If it was, trans women wouldn't be dying right now. So you can feel how you feel, but let's be real. Let's be real about the situation. It's these men that need something. And if we're not going to supply them and then say that things need to change, how are things going to change if we don't give them the tools and the spaces to have these conversations and to be open and to be real with themselves?
Thank you, Troy, for that. I wanted to chime in after you. We're going to open up the floor to let everybody else speak one by one because I know that everybody might have their own opinions on this topic. I agree with Troy. When I got the whole context of what the group was about, I'm like, okay, this is a brotherhood. Because I've dated men and I was their first trans girlfriend. Who do they talk to besides us? We bear all the knowledge of these men, their truth. But when they don't want to talk to us and they want to talk to a man, who do they talk to? Because they can't outwardly just say, my girlfriend is trans and this is what's going on in our relationship. It is a different dynamic when a man is dating a trans woman versus a cisgender woman. It is what it is. We're not going to fake the fun. We all are women, but there are certain situations and we are all at different stages of our transition. And so it's about it, and there is support because we create networks for ourselves. We create the space for ourselves, for us being trans women. We don't wait for nobody. We create the space for ourselves. I think it's dope that they're doing it for themselves.
Who else want to get on the list here? Order. Miss Miles. Who else?
I can go after Miss Miles.
Okay.
How about we just do it in order so that everybody gets a chance?
I'm taking down the list right now. We got Miss Miles and Asia B. Anybody else want to get on the order?
You can add me.
Okay, Miss Mojo. All right, Miss Miles, you got the floor.
Hi, everybody. I am a trans woman who does believe that trans amorous men are just men who can have full fulfilling relationships, long-lasting, wide, to trans women. And I do understand like the pushback because there are a lot of who they have a normal, they've been treated a certain way, and this type of space has not made it very far outside of like social media or outside of like very nuanced spaces. So there are a lot of women, and there are women who have lost their lives at the fault of there not being enough spaces talking about this. But I do know, me being in a relationship right now with a man who I would consider is trans amorous on top of being it's important to understand that like he understands what trans amorous is. He self-identifies in that way as well. But it's important that as women, we make space at least to have conversation, to at least expand our understanding and be open to having and expecting and wanting more from those men that we want to pursue relationships with. I think it is a two-sided. In order for us to meet in the middle, I think there is work to be done on both sides, and that's why I really appreciate this conversation. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to speak.
All right, Asia, you're up.
I just want to say, trans is just it's like a preference. It's just like our preference of what we want to date. Why should it have to be a label like they're chasing? We want these men to accept us and be open to us, but we shame them when they try to identify. So make it make sense for them. That's all.
My angle is, I think everything Troy said is beautiful, and I think it's empowering, and I think that needs to happen more, not just in digital spaces, but in workshops in person, XYZ, of course, pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. I think that's a beautiful thing. I also think that conversation needs to be had amongst men who are not trans-amorous, so y'all can form a brotherhood and create a better alliance, because that plays a part in the building as well. My only concern with the trans-amorous community, because I do know several men who identify as that, and a lot of the trans-amorous men I know don't actually listen to the people they are attracted to. So there's a lot of arguments that come up. There's a lot of disagreements because I feel in my experience, a lot of the trans-amorous men think it's enough that they are attracted to us publicly and they parade us. But to me, the deeper work is listening to us, the people you are attracted to, listening to how we're feeling, listening to the ways in which we don't appreciate how you may be moving or how you're not moving. That's the only pushback I have against the trans-amorous community. And what happens is the trans community is very small. So the way that you treat one trans woman usually gets to another trans woman in the behavior. It starts to look like a pattern. And that's when the side eyes are held against the men who identify as trans-amorous.
All right, is there anybody else that wants to get on the list or chime in or respond?
Well, I'm about to go to a bad area, Chris, so I'm gonna have to wait until I get to get to a better until I get home. So I'll be home about 2 minutes.
All right, anybody else want to get on the list?
Hi everyone, how are y'all doing? Forgot me already, Big Chris. Rude.
Somebody got to put some names.
I just got into the room, but my thought process about this, of course, this changes over time. It grows. The most important thing I want to kind of put across is that, like I always say, is that finding knowledge and proper research and stuff like that to make sure that you are understanding as much as you possibly can, and this is for trans-amorous men and also for because we have to be able to relate this information to each other effectively. So I think being able to have those conversations is important, and I think that men need to also be able to have that conversation with each other. I think someone mentioned that just a moment ago, that they need to be able to speak to men who aren't trans, so they can be able to convey the humanity that we have as trans men, because they see us as women. That's the first problem, and so I think that they're not going to listen to us because they don't find value in our opinions. So I think that, of course, coming from another man, it's gonna hit different. So trans-amorous men need to be equipped with the language and the knowledge to be able to speak about their experience and be able to convey and show the humanity in us as trans women. As far as them being chasers, I think chaser is very specific in the sense that it's like it's someone who literally only wants to be sexual with you from the gate. Like that's what I get. Like that's me, that's how I see it. I'm not sure everyone else will see it, but I literally see it just like, oh, I just want to have your body, and that's all I want it for. I'm not invested in you as a person. I'm not inclined to know more about who you are. I'm just going to sexualize you from the jump. And it doesn't take much for them to do that, to show you that that's who they are. Granted, they probably could try to, pull a stunt and trick you, but that's just kind of how life goes, unfortunately, because people have malicious intent. But that's what I wanted to say. So.
Go ahead, Samantha.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good.
Okay. So I'm coming from a different space. A lot of my sisters don't agree with me when I say it, but I feel as though as trans women, sometimes we are really hard on the men who in our community um, who are open to being with us and dating us. Like we don't take into consideration that a lot of these people lose family. A lot of these people, lose for people they thought they were they are friends. They lose so much, and a lot of the times, even the men who I don't like to say the word transamorous. I per se like to say men with trans experience, meaning men who have dated trans women who have the experience when it comes to dealing with us mentally, spiritually, emotionally, things like that. But I me per se, I think it's a lot of what we emulate and it's a lot of what we put out as well. Most trans women they want to be sex symbols. They want to be seen as you know, these beings that, that are just so sexy and voluptuous, big titties, big hips. Not all girls are that way, so I'm not going to say that all girls are that way. They're not. There are some really wholesome ladies in our community who, don't emulate certain things, but a lot of us have or do. So we can't be mad, we can't go when we're giving them, we're ramping them up for the chase. Like we're getting them started, we're getting them going, and then it's like when that's all they see. I mean, what do you expect? Like most guys who are from like inner cities, like my city, Baltimore, they are not exposed to certain things. The only thing that they do know is what they see on a day-to-day basis. They are not used to healthy relationships. With trans women, they're not used to, or women, period. They just didn't grow up in those kind of homes where they seen what it was for a man to treat, or how a man was supposed to treat a woman. So a lot of that has to do with that. Trans women, we have to be a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic to the men in our community and stop being so judgmental because truth be told, there are a lot of good guys out here, but we're judgmental and we see what we want to see and we do it where as soon as he come at us a certain kind of way, it's you're trying to chase or this thing when it's not necessarily always the case. Yes. So can I go next? I'm sorry. Y'all can go ahead. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh no, not to cut you off, sister. Take your time.
Gotcha.
I just recently lost like the love of my life. This man, I have been knowing him for like 10 years, and like he was a trans attracted man, and when he was exposed, when it came out that he was that, he got into like drinking and doing drugs, and that affected him. He carried a burden with him, not having certain support systems. And it was only so much I could do because I come from my own pain. And I can I understand his hurt and his pain, but if you don't have anybody there to be a crush that's going through the same thing that you're going through to keep you, motivated. And I tried so hard, it just wasn't enough. So I think us as trans women, we have to sit back and we have to evaluate the situation. And we also have to, we sit up here, we want these men to be perfect. These men are not perfect. We're not perfect. We sit up here, we want a man with a car, a house, he got to have this, he got to be able to take care of you. But the whole time, you can't even take care of yourself. So, I mean, that's just me personally. Whoever's next, I'm sorry, y'all, that's just my little feedback.
I'm sorry, is it Niley?
Yes, it's Niley, thank you.
Before you go on, I just want to, does anybody else want to get on the list in order to speak?
I'm ready. I'm home and comfortable and ready.
All right,
I'll go after that.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Dakota.
Okay, so we got Niley. Okay. All right, Niley.
I was listening well, but I came in a second. I apologize, Niley. I just came in. If I could get the topic I'd like to discuss as well, I just came in.
Well, we got you on the list.
I was with you, Samantha, on a few of the points when you were saying that we are harder on the men that are attracted to us. Yes. But to say that we have to stop being so judgmental, I think that, I don't know, because until we are able to actually meet men and are able to be in close relationship with them without having a fear of being killed, I don't know if I'm able to remove that judgment so quickly.
my safety is still at stake. So I do actually put men through a certain level of ring to be able to get access to me, especially on an emotional level, not just let alone a physical level. So there's that. So I was with you until you were saying like, we need to stop being as judgmental. It's my safety at stake, and I only have me. And I would much rather be judgmental in the sense of I'm protecting myself than for someone to have to repost, say my name on Instagram. So that's just that. But then when we talk about transgendery and being chasing, um, when even if I am extremely exotic or my look is hyper feminized, if a man approaches me in a way where he is considered quote unquote chasing me, that is his problem still. I can walk around naked. And if a man does not have the level of self control where he can't consume himself, that's his problem. So there's that too. I'm not trying to take apart everything that you're saying. I just want to make sure that I'm putting this out in the room. So I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking you, but I've heard that conversation before. But if someone is attracted to me that innately are transamorous, and the problem in it is that the ones that are taken, that's very distinct and it's relative to me. As we've heard everyone explain their experiences, I've heard several different examples of what a chaser is. Someone said it relates to just being sexualized. To me, it's a quick thing. If you're able to just date me, date you, that's a chaser to me. Just like a same thing with a man that is dating cis women. If he can move on to the next, he's a chaser. And it's not just exclusive to being the trans identity. It's having the ability to not emotionally get connected to a person and to move on quickly. To me, that's a chaser. So if a person is attracted to a trans person, they're innately transamorous. So that to me is my definition. And again, it's relative to the trans experience of that trans person. So to me, I don't think that transamorous people are trans chasers because those are two different types of people. I believe that chasers are transamorous, but they are chasers because of my definition as it relates to me. So if someone is actually dating me as a trans woman, he is innately transamorous. It doesn't mean that he's a chaser. So I just wanted to put that in the room, and I am Natalie, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you for that. I want to say that I'm loving the conversation. Chris and I had been discussing this a little bit earlier, and I was like, yeah. But I want to add that I wouldn't be the man that I am today without the trans women who are my platonic friends. And I'm sorry, I was driving, so I couldn't write down names and parts of conversations, but someone had said that she didn't have the tools to help her boyfriend, I guess, and I think he's passed away, to process some of the things that he was going through. That's the other reason why we've modified, because first we were calling ourselves trans attracted, but attraction is a lower level vibration. There's more to what I've gotten from trans women in my life. They've held my feet to the fire. They propped me up when I didn't know how else or who else to run to, because again, at the time there was no community, and those are the women who forced me to do better and be better. Somebody's on this call right now listening, and she's someone who, I have those conversations with, as someone else said, having the conversations, making sure they're nuanced and things like that. But there are some things that we men have to do for ourselves. And it doesn't necessarily center around trans women. It centers around the toxic and the fragile ways that we are taught how to be men. And that's not a conversation for women to have, and that's not a conversation that we have to go to women to have. So I want us to be very, very careful, and we need to be able to communicate with one another and not see each other as adversaries, because a lot of men have nothing and no one. And if we don't make our own community, if we don't make our own space, if we don't make it open and say, hey, I can live my life, I can be a white collar professional, I can do all of these wonderful things. And yes, the woman on my arm happens to be trans, and that doesn't do anything to my manhood. In fact, in my personal opinion, any man who can walk his own truth, whether he be, is a cis heteronormative man, a gay cis man, a trans man, or a transamorous man, all of those men something special because they've decided to walk a path and to be themselves unapologetically. I'm done. Dakota?
Hi, everybody. Just real quick, I wanted to kind of pick back up on what the past few people were saying. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I hopped in here because I was in a group earlier with Niley. Hi, Niley. I was in Niley's group earlier, and I was saying how, like, yeah, I don't date men. I haven't been attracted to men, and I do think part of that is because men, realistically, men are my biggest threat. Men are my biggest threat. I have never came across a man who has respected me as a woman, hasn't respected my boundaries. And, so I do think someone had mentioned earlier how it's important to listen to the trans women. And I think, to me, from listening, in my mind, what separates a chaser versus someone who is trans amorous is, I believe, that a chaser is a lot of men who have reached out to me and like tried dating me. They were chasers. They didn't want to really know me or care about me. They wanted sex. They wanted sex. They just saw me as a body, and I think that's what's kind of scary about it. When it comes to men, that's kind of what scares me, the fact that I'm aware that we are just bodies to a lot of men. We're just bodies, even if they're attracted to us. We're still just bodies. We're not really treated as humans. We're not really seen as humans. We're just treated as bodies. We're just here for sexual pleasure, a low secret kept in a closet. And I think your name Troy had said how that's a conversation that needs to be had within men. And I completely agree that I believe that in order for me to even see men in a positive light, men need to have that conversation. It's a lot of toxic masculinity, fragile masculinity, to where men who are attracted to trans women, they have to defend themselves. Like, they feel like they're doing something wrong or something ashamed of, because that's what other men would do to them. And, so I do think that is a conversation that should be had amongst men. I do think it's great that transamorous men, I'm glad that I didn't even know that transamorous was a thing, so I'm glad that I know that now. So that's great, and I'm glad that these conversations are happening. And something that Samantha had said earlier, and I don't mean this as an attack, but yeah, even if I went and I got surgeries and had the biggest ass I could think of, or the biggest boobs I could think of, like, even if I did all that, that doesn't give men the excuse. It doesn't give men the room. I don't have a nice ass, and I barely have any boobs growing here, but yet I have been raped by men. I wasn't asking for it. And I feel like we have to be mindful about this. So it's like, yeah, I judge men, and I judge men harshly because too many women, cis and trans, we go through the worst shit. And I said, men are our biggest threats. So I think that judging men harshly, I think it's logical. But I'm here, I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm glad this conversation is going, and I'm done speaking.
All right. Thanks for that, Dakota.
Yeah, I just want to. Hey, I'm sorry. I just want to clarify something. In no way am I defending, the toxic masculinity these men have and the privilege that they feel that they have towards women. But when I when I look around and I look at like some of my sisters and they're fab girls, and, you know, they have all the body work and stuff like that. Like, you know, I didn't grow up in a household where I I feel my mother dressed down. My mother didn't have to wear her titties and her ass out to be, you know, sexy. That wasn't sexy. It wasn't, you know, something that uh it wasn't like that. It was subtle. It was put together. She didn't have to wear certain things to get the attention from men that, you know, some of us struggle, even myself. And I say I'm guilty of it. I'm not saying that, you know, there's any excuses. I'm not making excuses at all, but I know that when I get myself together and I want to go outside and I want to put on a short skirt and, you know, have my titties out or push up the heat, whatever the situation, like I feel as though I emulate that. That's what I'm emulating. I'm emulating sex. You know, so if I'm sitting up here and I want a man to take me serious and he wants to, you know, be in a relationship with me or something like that, I mean, isn't that like, you know, isn't there a certain dynamic that there should be like with getting a person like you don't see? I just don't get it. So can I piggyback on you, Samantha? Sure. Okay. Hi, y'all. I'm Chanel. So, and I agree with Niley. It doesn't matter if I walk around butt ass naked. Excuse my language. If I walk around naked, that doesn't give a man a right to do whatever he feels like he wants to do to me. I have to give consent at all times. Now, a woman should not be pigeonholed to an idea that you have to be a certain way to be loved. Because I'm a very expressive and spicy woman. I like to be sexy. I like to show my girls off. I work very hard for these. Any other surgeries that I feel like I want to get and I feel like I want to show off, I'm going to do so. And there's a man for each type of girl. The man that may like you may not like me, and that's cool. But nobody should be pigeonholed to an idea that there's a certain standard that you have to be at in order to be loved. That's incorrect.
Real quick, Dakota again. Like, yeah, that's what I was saying. Cause like, it just comes off very, you know, respectability politics, you know, like, and I see a lot of respectability politics go on, especially within women, where it's just like, if a woman isn't dressed what's considered modest, then it's just like, oh, well, you were asking for the attention. It's like, no, they were just trying to express themselves. Like, yeah, I can walk around naked. And if I want to walk around naked, I can. That doesn't give a man an invitation. That doesn't give men the right. It doesn't make me less respectable. It doesn't make me less modest. Like, we should be able to express ourselves however we want, dress however we want, look however we want. And that should not play a role into a man respecting us or not. Our respectability does not depend on what we're wearing. It doesn't depend on what we're wearing. Like, I could be fully covered up or I could be naked, but I'm still respectable and I still expect to be respected. So I think we have to be mindful about the respectability politics that go on in this. I'm Dakota. I'm done speaking.
Can I piggyback off of that, Chris? I'm sorry.
Yes, we're gonna move on.
Okay, so this is it right here. I get, you know, how everybody feels. I'm not taking anything from anybody, but for me, what it all boils down to is the respect that a trans woman has, you know, for herself and what her goal is, you know, for the long haul. As far as, once again, I'm not making any excuses for, you know, men or whatever the case may be, but if I'm a trans woman and I'm living my life, you know, and I want a husband and I want all these different things, there's a certain way that, you know, things in my mind, this is just me personally, should go. Like, I can't, you know, emulate something and then say, well, okay, well, this is all they see me for, but this is what you're promoting. So what else, you know, that's just me personally. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this a situation where I feel like I'm like, you know, I'm not playing a blame game or anything, but like I said, from my perspective, from my point of view, trans women are harder on men, and some of these guys are really nice guys. Like they're really down to earth guys. Have been through so much, you know, or madness with other men. Sometimes the good ones always get overlooked. So that's what it all comes down to.
Okay. Really quickly, I just want to a little bit here. So thanks everybody for joining us for this conversation tonight. We are talking about if transamorous men are chasers, or are they equal, whatever. You know, we're really just are, entering this new group of men that have showed up saying that they will date women openly, honestly, earnestly, and all that stuff. So I wanted to reset. We got to Samaya because thank you for patiently waiting, Samaya, and you can have the floor.
No problem. Okay, so for me, thank you for clarifying the definition. I think for me, I want to start with clarifying what I think transamory is versus trans attraction, which is something we're not talking about today. So I feel like when we talk about trans people and how we navigate in the world and the individuals that like us, you can be trans attracted and want to have and find yourself attracted to a trans person or wanting to engage in sexual encounters or even just finding them physically attractive in media, and that not necessarily meaning that you want to date them. Transamory for me is the time for men like my husband, and I've with my husband for 10 years, and I'm married, and I like to say that I have a healthy relationship. And transamory, amor, the root being love, is what I would use to contextualize a man that is actually moved past attraction, has or is willing to date and engage long term with a trans woman beyond her physical and the physical objectiveness. So as I'm reading this tonight, the title is Are Trans Amorous Men Considered Chasers? I would say no. Because how I'm defining the term amory, the root being love, is these are the men that have committed and are saying, I'm no longer willing to be DL. I'm no longer willing to engage with this community in a way that objectifies or minimalizes. Now, can transamorous men behave as chasers? Yes, I do believe that there are men that are in our community that are in relationships with trans women that are still behaving in what we would consider a down low behaviors that would protect like their patriarchal identity, that allow them to fly below the radar. We call it DL as well. I feel like the DL chaser behaviors, and I don't feel like it's a person, but it's behaviors. I feel like chaser behaviors can be exuded by transamorous men, but I feel like a majority of the men doing it are men that are just merely trans attracted. I find y'all sexy. I want to have sex with that body. I find whatever that body in the spectrum of trans is attractive in this moment, and I want to engage. I don't care how you feel, how you think, what your mind is, none of that. So that's how I would distinguish the terms, and I feel like that gives more grace and room for the men that are doing it right versus lumping all men, whether it be cis, trans, whatever, under the term transamorous and then calling them all chasers, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to me. Next on the list is Hope. Sorry, Hope, before you go, does anybody else want to speak?
I got something else to say, bro.
All right, I'll put you on. Anybody else? All right. Hope, you have the floor.
Hey everyone, Hope Javon. I wanted to just address the whole idea of respectability politics because I don't think that respectability politics save anybody, right? I think that no matter what we look like, the bottom line of it is that we are trans women and there's invalidation of our womanhood. There's an invalidation of the sanctity of what we are as people, and there's an invalidation of the way that we're supposed to be treated when we're in relationships, right? While I do understand a lot of what is being said around the ways in which you portray yourself, right? I think that set of roles is different when we're talking about the ways in which the world has been taught to see us in general. We're supposed to be disposable to them. So whether you're in a three-piece pantsuit or in your best lingerie or OnlyFans, men have been taught to see you as things and resources for their sexual pleasure, regardless of how you want to be seen, right? Your vernacular, your vocabulary, your occupation, the way that you show up on social media does not save you from the woes of being somebody's, next conquest, if you will, right? And I think that we have to just be knowledgeable about the fact that it's not about unlearning how to be sexual beings and be respected. It's about men really targeting why they're in our presence to begin with, right? Why are you here? What exactly do you want? What exactly is it about this particular body, this particular experience that is drawing you to this? And then being honest about those things, right? But to tell women, and especially to tell
Black and brown trans women, that the way that we dress is a part of the reason for why we get treated the way we get treated when we have seen women who do the exact same things that we do who are supposed to be treated like queens, right? Is, I think, a misconception, right? There is no dumbing down of my tits or whatever that I can do that's going to stop a man from saying, oh, you trans, so okay, I'm gonna treat you differently. We've all had those experiences where men have wanted to give us the world, take you here, there, and everywhere, and then the second that you say, well, I'm trans, it's okay, so can you suck my dick? Can I come over? Can we lay together tonight, right? And that has nothing to do with the way that you presented yourself. It's with the way that men perceive us as people to begin with, right? And I think that that's like my first point. When it comes down to this whole like, are transamorous men considered chasers? I want to just piggyback off of what Samaya said. I think that not all transamorous men are chasers, but I do think that there are a lot of transamorous men who use the language, right, in order to get in and then perform in chaser behavior. And so there has to be a distinguishment amongst men. Men have to know who they are. Men have to know what part of the community they want to fall under. And they also have to start to take the word chaser in stride, right? Don't be out here performing ways and then when women call you out on it, you're embarrassed because you know that it's fucked up, right? If you're going to do that, then own it. The same way that the girls own the fact that, you know, they are pro-ho, they are pro-sex work, they're going to get their money, they're going to do whatever. Own the fact that you're only trying to fuck the girls, right? And that you're exclusively trying to fuck trans women, but own the fact that that's what you want to do. I think that the thing that bothers a lot of us women in conversation is the fact that you don't want to be called chaser, but you engage in this behavior, and the reason for why you don't want to be called chaser is because you know that that behavior is fucked up. And instead of unlearning it or instead of not enacting that behavior, you want us to see you as this wolf and, you know, this sheep in wolf's clothing, and treat you differently. And it's just like, are you above reproach for that when we all see it? And I think that the answer to that is a resounding no, right? We can all see the motive. We all see, you know, what's truly there. And I think that it's really more so going to be about the guys embracing the fact that there are some qualities that are going to be negative, and it's either you're going to embrace them or you're going to change them. But the idea of, I think, policing women of any kind, right, whether they be cis, trans, or indifferent, and trying to tell us that our sexuality is the reason, right, that these men become chasers is bullshit. Right? I think that there's a sexual understanding of all women that needs to be understood, and it shouldn't be devalued just because we're trans. And I think I'll leave it there. There's a lot of other things that I want to offer other people to stage. So my name is Hope Giselle, and I am done speaking.
I just want to say I want to thank everybody for coming in the room and voicing their opinions. Ladies have great opinions. And, well, Chris, my question to you is, how does a man go about even becoming, well, not becoming, but getting into the group? Is there like a specific space that they have to, I don't know, you have to break it down for me so I get a full understanding of, because you say one time you told me you guys were creating your own space within space.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of Facebook groups out there. There's the Trans Supporter Brotherhood, and then my group, the Michael's Tribe. But, you know, these are just two Facebook groups that are largely support groups for guys. A lot of guys have come in. Actually, a lot of women have sent men to these groups to, you know, learn and have conversation and get a lot of questions answered. You know, one of the things that I hear a lot of times from women in the trans community is, you know, I'm not your teacher. I don't want to be teaching these men trans 101 and all this other stuff. And you know, that's definitely one of the of the space really is to help, you know, get guys up to speed, help them understand what's acceptable, what isn't. And, you know, and on all this, what's acceptable and what isn't is just based off of what we know from our relationships, from the women that are in our lives and all of that stuff. So it also helps a lot. I'm sorry, you know, kind of push guys to progress in their journey a little bit. And the dopest moments happened past couple of weeks, and in one of the groups was like, there was a guy who was in a relationship and he just like freaking out. He was like, I love this girl, and I just told my mom about her, and I'm ready. I think I'm going to do it. And everybody that's been through it shared our experiences. We helped get him, we helped push him over the edge, And, I talked to the guy personally, before we had the conversation, talked to him afterwards. A lot of times, which this is not every time, my own podcast says that. But, sometimes a lot of this fear that guy's built up, it's kind of a fabrication, because this guy, his mom just respected the fuck out of him for being real. So, that was a situation where it went well. But yeah, I mean, there is no, like, you're in the club, so now you're transamorous, nothing like that. This is a self-identification. So somebody chooses to identify as such, then, that's their prerogative. I think where we run into trouble sometimes is where, expectations, he falls short of expectations he didn't even know he was signed up for when he, claimed that term. So,
Can I ask you? Go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really wanted to piggyback something on Chris. He was talking about his group and my group is the Trans Supporter Brotherhood. It was the first group of its kind on Facebook. We reached out to a lot of men who we have known for years through AOL groups, things of that nature, who are in that group. So some of our relationships are 15, 20 years old. So we're not new. We've always been there, but back then there was no way to identify who we were. I did a diamond almost 10 years ago. That her whole page had been taken down, but at one point it had almost 30,000 views. Her and I having a deep conversation about who we are, because there was no one who looked like me and sounded like me out there talking about this, and so I took it upon myself to do that. Chris and I talk, 2-3 times a week. They're one of my running buddies here. I talk to him every day, but he also talks to Chris. We are a community. It's important that we have that community, and like a lot of you ladies were saying, and I'm pleasantly surprised about the conversation, because I really didn't think that there would be so much positive support for what we were doing and how we were talking about it. So my hat is off to all of you, and I am humbled by that. But like I said, a lot of these men, we're not new. I want to jump back for just a second. Consent is everything. If a man is going past what you consented to, then that's rape, that's sexual assault. And, men have been doing that to cis women forever. Men have been chasing cis women. There are men who chase cis women for sex only. So chasing isn't exclusive to trans women only. And one more thing I want to say, what we men have to understand about ourselves is that we have been socially conditioned to be predatory. That we're told as young men, don't you think that girl, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Go sow your royal oats. We are conditioned to do that. This isn't something that's a learned response. It's something that we're conditioned to do. Meaning, it's taught. It's not innate. So we are taught and we are told, go out there and date as many women as you can, because that's a measure of your manhood. And so why a lot of guys call me Yoda is that, you have to unlearn everything that you learn before you take those steps towards, walking in your own truth. Because we are taught to be toxic and fragile. We are taught not to share our feelings and not to introspect and look at ourselves, because it's okay to fuck over women, period, cis and trans. So these are the things that when we attempt to have conversations, all of this part of our journeys are left out, because no one wants to listen to that. Because yes, your journeys are hard, but our journeys are hard because it's our journey. We don't know your journeys, and yet you don't know ours. Because as and I'm sorry, I forgot her name. And she said he was going through stuff and he was drinking and doing all of that. She couldn't help him with his journey because that journey wasn't hers. And we have to have the grace. We have to have the space. We have to have the understanding from men who are open enough, who do have the words, who do work with the community to make a difference and to help these men who are struggling, because these men are struggling. You can't go get therapy, or there's no degree. I mean, you can get in it. It's gonna, all of a sudden help, this so-called transamorous man, and that doesn't speak.
Chris, if you don't mind, I just wanted to just say one point quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I've heard the term consent. We used this in this conversation a few times, and I just wanted to highlight an exclamation point what consent is. And it's not just exclusive to me saying yes or no. It's also, even if you are physically on top of me, I have full autonomy and agency to say no again or no after I said yes, and I've retracted my consent. And at that point, it is still unconsensual. So I just wanted to highlight further that we talk about consent, because I've noticed a lot of my transitions have said no and continue because the initial consent was dismissed. So consent does just not stop at the initial point where I've told you yes. It's ever going, even when you're on top of me or you're inside of me. If I say no, I've retracted my consent, and now it is still no, get off of me. So that is something that you should also be teaching your brothers, men, as you stated so eloquently, that they are essentially taught to be hunters and predators. So that consent is just not stopping at the initial point. It is through the entire course of our interaction. So I just wanted to highlight in an exclamation point that fact, because as we're talking about chasing and how disposable the trans body is, that is something that needs to be highlighted. To add that, I'm done speaking.
I think, Nelly, to that point, it goes back to this idea. I think that the thing that really kind of got to me a little bit was the fact that Troy said that men are taught to be like these predatorial beings, right? And I think that as women, the one thing that we don't like is the idea that we feel like we are being stalked, right, rather than pursued. And I think that that is where this chaser term comes into play, right? It goes, I know at least for me, I can't speak for all of the women and femmes on the stage, but I know that at least for me, I don't like the idea of feeling like somebody's piece of meat that they play with and that they chew on and then they come back to it and they chew on it a little bit more and then they come back to it, right? And I think that that is where that chaser key component comes in for me, because I don't want to feel like the mouse in your game. I don't want to feel like you're stalking me and that you enjoy, following in my footsteps and peeping around corners and checking in and see like seeing what I'm doing and pouncing when it suits you and then not being there at other points. And I think that a lot of the times that is that creepy shit that gets men dubbed as chasers, right? It's not always just about the sexual shit. I think that sometimes the girl can smell a chaser the second that he pops in her inbox. It's just like, don't come up in here with that vibe. There's this vibe that men think is sexy. And I think that Troy kind of helped me narrow it down for myself. It's that some guys feel like they are coming off as like this alpha male predator, sexy male machismo, but what you're really doing is freaking you the fuck out and making me feel stalked upon and making me feel preyed upon. And after you've set that tone for me, now anything that comes out of your mouth also has that same increment for me, and I think for a lot of the girls. I think that when we're talking about this, there has to be some level of understanding and respect for the fact that trans women are indeed women, and that we're worthy of the same amount of energy that you're going to put into any other relationship or any other situationship or whatever. And I think that a lot of the times, the thing that does it is that y'all try to bullshit us as if this is what y'all would do with any situation, and we know that it's not, right? Like, we have enough cis girlfriends. We all come from a mother. We all come from, spaces where we are usually in community with cis women. And so we know what y'all give when y'all are trying to give or when y'all are trying to get or whatever the case may be. And we often recognize that that is not what is afforded to us because y'all don't think that we deserve it. Y'all don't think that we're worth it. And for whatever reason, there's this understanding between men or amongst men who claim themselves to be transamorous or who even claim themselves to just be attracted, right? That says that you're not going to get that much because you're not worthy of it, right? I'm not going to put in the time to court you and to take you out and to run the gambit of introducing people to you because you're not going to be around that long. And those are the things that I think like really hones in on this conversation when we're talking about the chaser things is when we see men saying that they're, like these alpha males, these predators, and like that shit is cute when we talk about, our sexual relationship and what we like intimately, right? But when we're talking about just talking to women, when we're talking about the idea of pursuing a woman, if you wouldn't if you wouldn't offer yourself sexually to Jasmine, the cis woman, within your first couple of messages, don't do it to me. Because I know, and 9 times out of 10, the thing that y'all don't know is that we've heard how you give it up for, other types of women, or we heard how you give it up for cis women, or we heard, the game that you spin 1,000 times over. And so when we get something different and we call you on it, I think that it has to come down to that self preservation of whether or not you're going to check yourself, or whether or not you're just going to go ahead and take that title that we're going to give you, which is chaser, because that is what we feel. We feel chased. We feel like we are a piece of meat. We feel like prey. We don't feel like a woman in that aspect. And I think that that's also another part of the transamorous versus chaser conversation that we're missing, is not just the sexual aspect of it or being seen as objects, but it's also the way that you all approach the situation, as if we owe you something, or as if we are like a game to be played and figured out at your leisure whenever you feel like it. My name is Hope, and I'm done speaking.
Well, can we respond to the question of the room?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Okay, well, go. Let Chris go, and then you can go, Louisa.
Thanks, Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. I didn't hear you. Well, real quick, because it was just like, I think a lot of the, behaviors that Hope was mentioning, if a guy, the parent that a guy is giving you less, by all means, call him out on the shit, hold him accountable. What I am saying is, a lot of the guys that I know in this, space, a lot of them are looking to give, exactly what they give to cis women, or even more. I mean, I have to be honest for myself. And I have done things for women. I have given a level of treatment to the trans women I partner with that cis women wish they got from a man. And I've gone above and beyond the ways I never did in my life before for these women that have my heart. And, I think there are a lot of guys who are honest and earnest about this. Of course, there are, men who are pieces of shit. I think there are men out there, but, I can't say if I can catch all where all the guys are like this, because a lot of the guys that I know that I talk to really, really are looking for that love, looking to have a queen, and they want that as bad, if not more than a lot of times. And they want to put her up on a pedestal and treat her like a princess and all this stuff. But I just wanted to share that I see what you're talking about. It's definitely, something that men need to be called out on. And, trust me, that's kind of one of the benefits of these groups, with my group and with Troy's group. We call each other out on our bullshit. We do call each other out. We express our opinions honestly. I have not sat there and I have actually called out guys I've called out a friend of mine who was cheating. He was being a fucking scumbag. And I'm like, dude, I'm not with that shit. Change up. Like, we can't be cool no more. Like, you got to get the fuck away from me with that bullshit. I have to set the tone for the group. But, I've sat by where, Troy and Troy was sharing honest opinions with another guy he didn't, agree with. And, they had it out. And knowing that we sat in these specific groups is like that, I know that these specific groups, the population is so small. I do understand that point of it as well, where it's like, you guys are saying this is happening, but I don't see it on the street. Because this is a really small group of dudes. It really is.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Go ahead, Louisa.
Hi, guys. So I've been listening in, and it's been really interesting. I've got lots of information. But I just want to pose a question as someone that's kind of like alien to the topic a little bit. And it's kind of like a thing of where the whole chasers thing and like against trans amorous, isn't it kind of like the same? because it's like if individuals consciously going after someone that's trans, it's for particular reasons, regardless if it's like the chase thing or the amorous thing. It's like a very particular thing that like they don't want.
What I would say, Louisa, we had a lot of different opinions on what chasers are in this room, and many of the girls specifically said how they felt about the term and why they considered this the term. So I think that was earlier in the conversation. I guess that'll come down to what you believe. What do you believe a chaser is?
I couldn't tell you, babe. I've never interacted before I'm born. I think it's chasing, and my brain would be like, someone that wants a trans woman, they want a woman that's either in transition or has had a section cancer specifically. They want like a trans person.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And well, in my opinion, when it comes to chasers, they just want us for sex.
Okay, and then amorous want relationships, but the whole, if they specifically want a trans person for a relationship, doesn't the kind of similar connotations come up as to why they want a trans woman?
The same reason why they want a cisgender woman. They have
no, it's not the same, baby, because there's a big difference between trans women and cis women.
Absolutely, but men date cis women for their specific reasons, and they date trans women for their specific reasons. Again,
men date cis women exclusively.
One second, Trey. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, I'm somebody that's proud, and I'm a type of trans. I date trans. I believe in trans women. I'm not. I don't know if I'm considered a chaser or not. I don't care neither. My thing is, I'm just listening in, and how I go about cis women, how I go about trans women. I don't care to have a relationship. I don't care to be married. So if I'm with a cis woman, I just want to have sex. Same thing with a trans. I'm not going to treat you no different. I'm going to treat you the how I go about if I see a woman. I consider all, you know what I'm saying? I don't see no difference. So if that makes me a chaser, I'm going about it the same too as I go about the cis woman. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not ashamed. I'm not saying I'm not claiming who I am. I'm proud to say that I'm attracted to trans women. So I don't get where it's not like I'm denying who I am or nothing, but at the same time, that's how I go about women.
I think that ultimately that's just, and I mean this with love and colloquial understanding of us being mostly Black in this room. It's definitely giving a fuckboy, right? And I can respect it as long as you can own it. And I feel like then if you're owning that, then by all means, I'm here for it. It's the ones and it's the guys who I feel like don't give it up in the way that you just gave it up. Like you said, everybody can get it, right? But nobody can get it long term. Right. And if your understanding of it, if that's what it's going to be, then cool. But I think that a large part of the issue here that we're having when we have these conversations is that niggas don't like the terms that come with that, right? It's the same conversation that men give women all the time. It's like, well, if you don't like being called a hoe, don't wear a uniform, right? If you don't like being called a chaser, a fuckboy, a no good ass nigga or a piece of dick ass nigga or whatever the case may be, then don't be that nigga. If you're not okay with the fact that people are going to also attach those things to you. And I think what makes you a little bit different, Vince, is that you're okay with whatever the term is because you're not going to change the behavior that goes with the term. So if that's what the behavior that you're giving off, is also coined as, then you're willing to take that. And most guys are not. I think that that's where the need for this conversation is coming from. And so it's not coming from guys like you who are willing to say, well, you know what, this is, what I do. And if that's what y'all are deeming as chaser behavior, then I am a chaser. Cool, because I know how to deal with you. But it's the guys that will try to coddle you out of believing that there's something that they clearly are. It's the guys that have been passed around, the niggas that are for the streets. It's the niggas that have been in and out of every girl's DMs and on every other plan and every other thing, lying on a girl, lying on it, like doing all of the things, you know what I'm saying? But meanwhile, when you give them the term that goes with that and you call them the things that go along with those things, it's how dare you? You know what I'm saying? And I respect the fact that, even though I don't really agree with, even though I don't want to say I don't agree because that's your life, and if the girls are willing to accept that from you, then whatever. I don't particularly care for men who, date in the way that you date or pursue women in the way that you pursue them. I respect the fact that you're not going to sit up here and argue me down about the fact that you're not when you clearly are. And I think that that's the
conversation that might need to be discussed as well.
I have something I want to contribute to the conversation. I've been listening, and I thought.
Okay, one second, Brianna. Does anybody else want to get on the list after Brianna?
I do.
I'll be on the list.
Do we have any more trans attracted men out there that want to come up? Or
Yeah, I believe there was someone that wanted to come up. Chris, can you let up? I think his name is Nicholas. This is the thing I texted you about.
Nicholas?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, brother Nick.
All right, Nicholas, and then I'm sorry. So I have Samaya and who else?
You can put me up there too.
Okay.
So it wasn't me speaking. That was Brianna that wanted to talk.
Oh, okay.
So Brianna, then Jackie.
Thank you. All right, Jackie.
And I want to address Louisa, Chris.
I'm glad you're trying.
Okay.
I want to go.
Jackie sounds sexy. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
All right, Brianna, you have the floor.
Hey y'all. I kind of like. I think it's okay if somebody is communicating that they only have the capacity to just have sex. Like, I don't want us to get into the trap of like, I don't know. I kind of feel like we on the feminist side, we over romanticize relationships and we fall into the same tips like this woman. Well, if I do this, and that, then I'm going to be in this relationship and I'm going to be with this man, and we're going to ride out to the sunset. And like, if you talk to anybody that's been in a long-term relationship, you don't follow any rules. You just meet somebody and shit happens, and and then the history was written. So I kind of don't. I can at least speak for myself. I don't put myself in. Just to be honest, I'm not in a period where I'm looking for a relationship right now, but I don't ever want to put myself into a box where I have to follow these rules and then when I meet somebody and it doesn't pan out how I think it is, it's like, oh, he's a chaser. No, this is just somebody that he could be a sex buddy for like somebody that a romance moment. I don't know. Somebody doesn't be put on like relationship pedestal, and I feel like we've been talking a lot about consent. The consent is also about like nonverbal cues, so that goes for like sex. But even in relationships, sometimes a man doesn't have to. A man is not explicitly going to tell you he's a fuckboy, but he's going to do certain things or he's going to act in a passive aggressive way. And because we are trying to play this role of being this woman, of being hyper feminine, we will see patterns and we will see red flags. And then because we're too afraid to call it out, or we feel like if we can't keep this man, it makes us less of a woman, we'll go through these cycles and won't call it out. Like at the end of the day, I have the responsibility to decide who's going to be in and out of my life. And if a man is demonstrating that all he has the ability to do is have sex with me, then it just is what it is. There's nothing wrong with that, because if you can't be in a relationship with you, I want all of my sisters to have the best bomb sex of their lives and get all the orgasms that they can in the meantime until they meet Mr. Right. But I don't know. I just think we have to be open to meeting people and taking people where they are, and not trying to paint people with this chaser brush. And like everybody's not going to be relationship material, but it doesn't mean that you can't have fun with them. It doesn't mean that you can't have a moment. And I just we as trans women, we need all of the moments that we can get. And just, you just have to be committed to living and to moving, and also be committed to like standing up in your transness and not letting people try to like shame our transness and shame the men that are like, no shade. If somebody come and tell me they're a trans and I feel like, getting or having a moment, like I'm gonna do it. For me, it's about us as trans women taking our power back and opening ourselves up to the possibilities of having experiences
so that when we do get to the man that's supposed to be our man, we're not jaded, we're not like hope, like we're not like you can't take everything personally. You can't. I'm not about to take it personal because I had something to offer and you weren't ready for the type of love that I wanted to give you. Like I'm not. I don't know. I just sometimes with these conversations, it's just like if you follow this guy, but you're gonna find this perfect man in life, in relationships and love. It doesn't work like that. And I just want us to be open to just living life and having different types of experiences with men.
It's funny. I'm sorry that I'm just cut in, but what was your name? You were just speaking. I wanted to make sure.
Brianna.
Okay, yeah, Brianna. Because I had a conversation with Chris, and I basically said the same thing. I don't know about y'all. I know about me. When I first came into my transition, you know, you look to the activists for, okay, how should I be treated? What should I request? Or, you know, how you think you should be as a trans girl? Because ideally, for me, I didn't have anybody around me. But when I started to date and when I started to mingle with men and get an understanding is when I had to define the terms of the relationships that I wanted to engage in. There was no cookie cutter way to do this or to be. And I agree with everything you have to say, 100%.
I feel like Jackie, next on the list.
Can I go after?
Sorry, who was that? We got a couple more people, but then I have to put you on the list. We got Jackie, Kai, and Troy, and then I'll put Asian in. Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, I hope everybody's doing good. So I've been in and out of the room a little bit, either because of distractions or because of phone calls. So, are trans amorous men considered chasers? You know, I think I have to. I don't remember who it was and exactly what they said, but I guess I kind of have to agree with it. I guess it all goes back to behavior. You know, how are they acting? How are they behaving? Are they, treating me as a person? Are they seeing me as a friend, as a human being? Or do they just, see me as sexual desire or whatever the case may be, I think it's possible for trans amorous or trans attracted men to not act as chasers and, be respectful and be gentlemen and, whatever the case may be. But I think it goes back to their comfortability with themselves. Like, do they accept themselves? Are they questioning themselves? Because from my experiences, I see a lot of guys who are, and it gets annoying because I hear the same shit over and over and over again. But it always gets repeated. But when I met you, I'm kind of conflicted about what I know versus what I see. And when I see you, I see whatever. But I know that you're trans or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah. But I just think it goes back to behavior. I don't think that every man is the same, and I do think that there are good men out there who would love somebody who's trans, or but I also think that it also society plays a part. How you grew up, who were your friends, who you looked up to, what they believed, how strongly you felt that what they believe, is the right way to be. It all depends. Different factors factor in, but I'm just, I just want somebody I can freaking have a conversation with, rather than freaking going to just. Can we just have a conversation, man? You get what I'm saying? Like, can we just be friends? But that's my take on it.
Nicholas, did you want to get on the list? Yes. We have.
And can you put me at the end?
All right. All right. Troy, you're up.
I got you, Ben. All right, all right. So since you spoke up, this is real talk. I appreciate your honesty, and I literally, talked about that scenario because at one point in my life, I was Vince. You were cis or trans. I wasn't was interested in a relationship. I was just going for the ride, and that's where I was. And that's just real talk, brother. I appreciate that. Brianna, I love you, girl. I love you, some Brianna. I just had to say that. And Brianna, as well as Samaya, who had up there a podcast by 12, which everything. It's an amazing listen. These are women who are my friends, my platonic friends, who I can talk to, who sometimes hold my feet to the fire, who say, "Oh, wait a minute," or sometimes they say, "Oh, you did a good job," and they pat me on the head and make me feel good. Wrote some things now. Okay, Jackie, conversations. Love conversations. Brianna and Samaya know that I talk a lot, so that's something that I value. And when you're speaking of relationships, that's what I want. But as Heavy D said, when one searches, one never finds. So I'm open to it, but I'm open to that conversation. I'm open to getting to know someone. I'm open to having real conversations about any and everything. Because if a woman is going to be my partner, she's going to walk down that path with me. If she's going to be my woman, then damn it, we got to be able to do all of that. And I'm finished.
I just want to say that I believe I'm next, right, Chris?
I'm sorry. I thought that was Asia. Yeah.
Okay.
Asia, did you mean to be on the list or no?
I actually lost my train of thought as we finished, so I'm gonna help it.
Mojo, go ahead. And then we got Nicholas, Anastasia, and Vince.
Thank you. So I think Maggie and Hope said it the absolute best. I think their points prove that there's such a great disconnect, not amongst the relationship between trans women and transamorous men, but transamorous men and themselves. It's the ownership for me, right? And I respect, what was the brother's name? Who took that ownership? I do what I do. And I think that level of honesty is missing in so many of the conversations that come back to me. And I think when it comes to tendencies, right, I think any man who feels that he has to treat a cis woman differently than a trans woman, I think that speaks a little to where they're at in their journey. Because the reality is, if you consider yourself transamorous, you kind of have to transition as well. And I think a lot of transamorous men refuse to do that work. Like Troy, I believe, said, like, you're taught these systems to oppress women in general. But just because you like trans women, you're still part of that system. You still participate in that system, and it's violent. I've met transamorous identified men who lie on the ground, who will go to the next trans woman and share a falsity that never happened in order to make themselves seem more desirable. I've seen it more times than I can count. And to me, like I said, that doesn't serve any community, right? That's the toxic thing that you've been taught and you've embraced even in this transamory. I think the part that really confuses me, and maybe because I'm not surrounded by it, I don't know. But for me, I it's hard for me to process amory because I don't see the love a lot of times. I don't see the love. I see the censoring of feelings sometimes. I don't see the love. I don't see the adoration. I don't see the commitment to teaching and the commitment to unlearning. I don't see. Not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't see it in my personal life, in my personal circle. And I do think that age thing has to play with it. I think a lot of transamorous men decide they want to indulge in transamory when they're older, when their looks are no longer strong. No shade to anyone in the room. And it's just because they find themselves in that space that they're entitled to trans women. And I think that's a lie as well. And gives me incel vibes sometimes. Again, not all, but it's just what I've experienced. So what I would like to see from men, I would like to see public campaigns. It's great that you have the support groups amongst each other, but I want to see declarations. I want to see public campaigns because the fight is already against us as trans women. fight is ready against y'all as transamorous men. I want to see marches. I want to see conversations with the cisgender community, male, female, or whatever have you. I want to see the pulling of parents in. I want to see that work because that's the work trans women have to do. A lot of us don't make it to the next day to actually complete that work. But I would like to see that from your community. I'm Ms. Mojo, and I'm done speaking.
Okay. So get back to the list here so we can fit everybody in who has something to say.
Can I just say?
Oh, okay.
I just want to say thank you for everybody for tuning in to this amazing conversation. Please make sure you follow the Elite Lounge on top. Please make sure you follow everybody on the stage, people to your left, to your right, up, down, everywhere.
I just wanted to pitch in. You know, Miss Mojo, that's definitely not the first time I've heard, saying, well, we need you guys organizing, all of these things. And, really, I think it's that's the way it is. But at the end of the day, a lot of these guys are not activists. I mean, you have a lot of women in the trans community that are just straight up activists. This is what they do. They know it inside and out. It took a while for y'all to get there. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get there too. And I just think hopefully eventually we'll get there. I'm trying to get my nonprofit stuff up right now, trying to get there. But this is a community of men that are not activists. We all have jobs. We do other stuff like this. And it's just
Wait. I gotta call Colton.
Okay, I'm gonna finish what I'm saying first, and then
I'm sorry. I knew I was on mute. Wait.
Thank you. Okay, so I just think the expectations are what you want for tomorrow, right now. It just won't. There are lots of guys who are declarations. I do it through my podcast. We have some other guys starting up their own media, and there are guys speaking up and public posts in different groups. And we're trying to do what we can within the confines of just how our life is. But the full-on marches and all of that stuff, I don't see it right now, and I think it might be a little it immediately. I think we could get there someday. I think we could partner with somebody to do a march someday, but like in the present, I just don't think it's gonna happen. I'm just being realistic.
I don't think I'll ever see it in my lifetime because that's not a dire need for y'all. That's my honest truth. I don't think my daughters will ever see it in their lifetime. I don't think my trans ancestors ever saw it in their lifetime, and it's not going to happen. So it has to say it's not we're not ready. And I think this is a lot of times where like that whole down low trade situation. Not accusing you of that, but it's kind of the same language when the trade says to us, I wanna show you to the world, but just not right now. This is what we hear. And you're saying kind of a variant of it. It's not the right time right now. I'm doing what I can, and it leaves us in the same space of being forced into the darkness when we choose to live in the light. So I'm saying if your profession, not profession, but if your dedication to if you are dedicated to transamory, there have to be some major steps that have to happen. And I challenge you because cisgender men can get together for sports, cisgender men can get together for music, cisgender men can rally, and none of them are activists, and be loud and wrong. Not saying you're loud and wrong, but can be loud and wrong about politics, religion, and other things that never stops them from doing it when they feel that this is what they want to say and this is what they want the world to know. So how come when it comes to us trans women, maybe, just not right now. I personally can't receive it, but I don't not see if that's where you're at in your journey. Thank you.
But Brianna, hold it. Brianna, I want to direct this to you.
No, hold on.
Hold on.
Because if we want to see marches, we want to see that in our lifetimes. But most of y'all,
I didn't say within the lifetime. That was Mojo's words, not mine.
In your lifetime, So how can y'all have it your way and not give us what we want? But go ahead.
So giving you what you want, you were part of something trying to do just that. And what happened? So don't say that we're trying it. And just hear me out. And so when the people who are walking forward and taking those steps, when they are shut down, the other guys say, why the hell should I do it? Because things like that reverberate. And it's important to recognize that even through Chris's podcast, because Chris's podcast is very public. You know, I've been doing my YouTube page for 10 years. I haven't put any content on it because I'm kind of tired of talking about, trans attraction one-on-one and things of that nature. And when I start to talk about how there's different levels, like some people said, how that we as men have to transition, we have to evolve. And that a lot of people don't even know what that looks like because no one has ever showed them that journey. There's no template. There's nothing out there for them to grasp onto. All of those things are factors in what our journeys look like. And then we don't have the opportunity to tell you what our journeys look like. Or we are told that how you feel and what you're going through isn't important to us. And so you stand down.
But can I help you with this? Because I hear the discouragement. Because this is the same discouragement that trans women face, but we still keep pushing on. So to me, that's all excuses, and I can't do anything with it.
I haven't stopped. So, but I haven't stopped.
No. But this is for everyone else that's in the audience that have that same level of discouragement. Like, okay, well, I'm not doing enough. And just like how us trans women, when we're trying to free us, liberate us, celebrate us, and amplify our voices, it's a small drop in the ocean. But enough of those drops in the ocean create a wave. A big enough wave to knock down these barriers that are holding us and holding us suppressed and oppressed in our transliberation. So I want you to say to continue doing this and to say out of your mouth, I don't see that happening. That's just a cop out to me. And I feel as though because I see my trans siblings dying. That's no excuse for me to say that, okay, well, I don't see that happening. No. I'm going to keep because I will see. And I'm going to continue to push so that I can, so that my siblings can live past 35, to live past 23, live past 24. And it's never going to be a cop out for me to say that I just don't see it. As a Black trans woman, I don't have that privilege. And so we're calling you to the carpet. If you have this privilege, use it. And we will stand behind you. And if you know of any other Black power, a woman behind a man is a powerful force. Come on, somebody. I'm trying to tell you. So if you believe in yourself first, because I hear the discouragement, say that I do see it happening. And this is the stance that I'm going to take. I bet you every trans woman that is a trans woman of color specifically will stand right behind you to support you and uplift and amplify your voice. We've done it many times and we'll do it many times again. I'm not even done speaking.
Troy, can I come in, Troy?
Yeah.
I didn't hear Mojo disregard the guy's feelings, and you know me, Troy. I don't disregard the man's feelings, but and there's no shade to Chris. And also, let me preface this: I'm willing for us to argue through this so we can get to a solution. But at the end of the day, I am a Black trans woman, and when you tell me, "Oh no, well, you just gotta wait a little bit more, you just gotta wait a little bit longer," that's part of the reason why I've had to, no shade, divest from men, especially Black men, and set my life up in a way where I'm prioritizing myself, so that I'm good whether I'm in a relationship or not, because I don't have the type of time to wait for Black men to get it together and for Black men to come around. I have to live my life, whether I'm partner or whether I'm single. That's my responsibility to live my life, because I don't have time for niggas to come to terms with their trans attraction. I've been transitioning over 10 years, and it's crazy because me moving back to my hometown, I'm coming up on 10 years of knowing niggas. Same niggas I was running around with in my early 20s on the DL. These same niggas had no intent on coming out on their sexuality. I now know that niggas in the closet is just going to be the niggas in the closet, and I can't let it affect my life. I have to set my life up in a way where I can thrive with or without a nigga. on my side. So when you tell us, well, not today, not no shade, it kind of gives like how white people tell black people, oh well, you'll get your turn for apology, but you just gotta wait for it. You gotta not today. It's not too, and it's just like we get that y'all have a journey, and I'm supporting. Part of the reason I like the divestment movement is I can still be concerned about your liberation, but I don't need to be in proximity to you. I don't have to give my body. I don't owe my body. I don't owe my love and my romance to you. I can still want for your liberation, but in order to save myself, to save other black women, I have to divest. I have to take care of myself. So I want y'all to get y'all liberation, but that doesn't mean that I have to open myself romantically to you and make myself an option while you beat up on me, while you work through your attraction. I just don't want to do it, and I'm not gonna. It would be irresponsible of me to tell other black trans women to prioritize partnering and prioritize taking care of men when doing that shit is killing us. Like I want us to live past 35. I want to live until I'm 60 or 70. Those bitches that I know that old, they are single or they got divorced and they don't have a man and they're living fab lives because they don't have to take care of no man. So it's not enough to say that it's not going to happen today. Like we need to be, y'all need to be working to make sure it happens today. And there's no shade.
And I just wanted, and short, and because I'm fired up, and in a good way, because I am transamorous, because I love my transition. Do you hear me? And to a point where I'm willing to die for mine, because my visibility relinquishes my safety and my selfness and my passability, because I am speaking out. So every time I come onto this platform and I'm doing the work in our community, the target on my back is bigger and bigger and bigger. So when we talk about transamory, I am willing to die for mine. Are you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I put my body on the line. I've went out in the mall when seeing them in trouble. I've given women jobs and done things like that. So, and Brianna, don't know that I call out these men who live in fear. There's no excuse for it because ain't nothing stopping them from making that 2 a.m. message or a phone call. What you doing? Can I come through? I know that that's what most men do. I'm not blind to that. And it's tired. And some of these men have been doing it 20, 30 years. They still doing it. And they haven't changed their behaviors because there's no onus on us. And the only way that we can make some changes is to be public and to be loud and to be visible, which I've been doing, and I do understand the pushback, Chris, in some ways saying, we can't go to marches and things like that, or it's not that time. It's past time because if you look at the last couple of, this last 2 men who killed trans women, they had black faces again, young black men targeting black trans women again, it's men not being able to deal with themselves or being predatory or whatever it is. Men are the problem. Men have problems, and men are not talking about those problems. They're not. Most men keep to themselves. They hold on to macho bullshit. So there's a lot of fucking work to be done. And I'm going to keep doing it because nobody else is going to do it.
Can I just say real quick? Hold on, D. I just want to say, when it comes to closet, what may look like a lot for you is actually the key. So please think about that when you are in relationship with trans women, because like Troy just said so beautifully, we're actually, the number has moved down from 35. So the number is just going down for our expectancy. And like Bree said, we don't have time. And it's not a feeling of trying to rush you to do anything, but it's past time, right? You've done it the gentle way. Many before you have done it the gentle way. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we have to go back to the drawing board. You do not have to be an activist to show up at the protest. You do not have to be an activist to, start these uncomfortable conversations in your barbershops. Activism has nothing to do with that. But this is your life. This is your life, right? You stand in it. You want to talk about love. 90s is
express love in such a beautiful way. And a lot of us trans girls, we have to have that love for each other because we're so tired of waiting for it from y'all. No shade. So we have to learn that to have that for each other. I'm Miss Mojo. I'm done speaking. Sorry for interrupting anyone.
Yeah, Miss Mojo, being an activist is not really the issue that, I guess the concern or the reality check, what it's called, that I was offering was that you guys need to organize and you have to have all these, being that guys show up to these events. A lot of guys in our group, they do show up to these events. They do volunteer. In fact, we're all getting together to volunteer for Thanksgiving in New York. Like, we are doing a lot of that stuff, and we are in cis groups. We definitely don't stand for any transphobia in any circle that we're at. I think the clash or the difference in expectations was really in y'all need to organize, y'all need to be having these events and doing all these things. And what a nonprofit now, I just paid my money to get it done. Like, it is happening, but it ain't gonna be today. Like, I am getting there, and we are getting there. I'm in a podcast. Like, y'all want this big movement? Ain't nobody else speaking. Like,
And
like
Chris,
we
it
can barely
wasn't
get
an
a couple
attack
guys in a Zoom.
on you, my love. This was, you've heard from several trans women. That lets you know how much of a need there is, and there has to be a sense of urgency. So it's not saying that you aren't doing enough. It's the fact that it's not knocking down that wall. So it's a call to order for you saying, you know what? I hear you, and I need to do more. Or I need to make sure that I'm doing this at a pace where, because these trans women still aren't seeing it, they're not feeling it. So that's what it was, a call to action, and it wasn't calling you out; it was calling you in. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
It wasn't an attack. Don't feel attacked. So
no, I'm just explaining the nuances. Like, this is what is another. It's a small group, y'all. Like I said before, it's a small group where you may not see it out there in the street. You just, I mean, we have 250-ish guys between both groups. Like, not exactly a big group.
Yeah, so that's a lot of. Go ahead. No, because you waited for Miss Mojo. Go ahead, D. I'll go after you.
All right, but the question is, as trans people, do we divest from those that are killing us, which are the DL men? Like, we have to do work. Not saying that it's beyond transamorous. Like, I just started learning the term transamorous last year, but I've been dealing with DL men pretty much my whole life. So the divestment from DL men and that culture is something that we have to do so that we won't give them space, because if they don't have the girls to work with, they can't do what they do. And I'm not saying that we should blame, because we all know how society sets us up when you're on the fringes of society as being Black and trans, and being on the fringes of society as being someone of cis male stance and be attracted to trans. You kind of meet at that fringe place. And, I'm almost in my mid-30s, so, DL men have been there at every turn, but now the grouping of these transamorous men, it's a small pool, and still a lot of us still get our DMs full, or on our site our dating sites full of DL men, and someone's entertaining them. Someone knows that this next person could be the last person that we see. And I know that we do have, there are businesses built around DL men. There's businesses built around trade. You know what I mean? People, those who do have to do sex work, those are the clientele, but we have to kind of save ourselves. As we can see in the Black community as a whole, we can't quite rely on the Black men to do much. They don't sit in the privilege enough to do anything for themselves, the Black cis women, the Black trans women. So what we have to do is collect resources on our own. And I don't have all the keys or the tools to tell you how to collect those resources, because that's the only thing that's going to save us. As Deanna was saying, the trans women that she knew that reached their 60s and 70s, they live in these crab life alone, or or was partner, divorced, whatever, but they had found a way to collect resources for themselves so that they can save themselves. Black men are not going to save us. It's a beautiful thing to have black on black love. I just got out of a relationship with a transamorous man. When you get in a relationship with a transamorous man, it's almost now what? I know that you're attracted to me. Now what we're going to do? How has your life been set up in the way? Yes, your mom knows, but who else in your social circle knows? Like, then you have this conversation on disclosure. But going back to the original question, we as trans, femme, non-binary black, all of that, we have to find ways and to save ourselves. If it's just us marching, we have to be okay with that. If we know a man who was just in our DM is looking at us from the 16th floor window and we marching and sweating, that's just what it's going to be. And just working together, and I'm willing to do more work. I can't say that I've been in the community for long. I took a different route, and now I'm back. I had a podcast last year, and I met a lot of you beautiful ladies, Chris, and everybody through that podcast and being back in community. But one thing I do know is how I set my life up. I was able to acquire some resources. And if you can find a black man that can help you acquire resources and put your life up in a better place, great. But we all know, statistically speaking, and how we are set up here in America, that is a very low percentage. So, ladies, we have to just save ourselves. And I'm D, and I'm out.
Okay, 1 second, guys. Before we move on, I think Hope wanted to chime in next, and then, or Brianna, did you want to chime in? Excuse me, I've been waiting for like 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm ready to get back. Next, Nicholas was next.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
So we got Nicholas and then Ben. Good evening, everybody. I hope all is well. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit taken aback by several things, but let me give a background about myself. One, I guess you can call me transamorous. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty amorous in general, but I've had like my first trans experience was like honestly like with really, really good friend of mine. We're still friends to this day. She went on, she got married, and that was like an interesting period in my life, and it still is interesting, and it is still is a journey that I'm on. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself like DL, and also the just finished speaking about resources and black men not being there. I'm not gonna lie to you, I find that rather off-putting. I don't want to say offensive because it's not necessarily offensive because that's your journey and that's where you are. But I've never been ashamed to say who I am or what I am, wherever I am, and in defense of my friends and essentially this point my family, wherever that may be. And I don't really know what you meant by collecting resources and black men not being able to. But I guess that's a different conversation for a different day. But I just, in conclusion, I don't know, I'm really making a point here, but I just feel as though as a black man, I think it is important for us to feel unified and to move forward together on all fronts. And I understand there's some of my cohort and my friends who may not feel the same way, but there are people who are having loud conversations in quiet rooms for you that you do not know about. I just want everybody to understand that.
Oh, okay. All right, Nick. So I have a couple of grievances with what you just did. You interjected in a space in a way that felt really jovial and really laid back for you, when this is a conversation that I think is very serious for a lot of the folks in the room, especially the Black trans men on the stage, because this conversation is the meaning between life and death for a lot of us, right? And so while it may not have been your intention to come off as nonchalant and carefree Black boy as you just did, it was really disheartening the way that you just kind of like, it was almost like you heard the conversation and you was like, hey, let me just give y'all my opinion from over here and I'm gonna keep walking to go get my coat, but let me just throw this in real quick. And it didn't feel like you were like taking the conversation seriously, and I just want to let you know and make you really aware of your tone. But outside of that, when Black trans women tell you their experience is not up for debate, right? And I think that when you have questions, the best thing to do, rather than to respond to them with your thoughts, is to ask, right? You said at least 3 times just now that you weren't sure, maybe you're wrong, I think, if I can just ask. And instead of coming here and just asking for the clarity that I think that you were seeking, you made blanket statements and what could have been and should have been an email or a DM to the person that you had the questions for, and took up a lot of space to say a bunch of nothing. And it's not to invalidate your truth, and it's not to invalidate what you just gave to the space, but this is exactly what Black trans women are talking about when we say that there are some of you that infiltrate the space under the guise of transamory, right? And under the misunderstanding of the words and the verbiages and our experiences, and do nothing, right, except occupy that space. Okay, so you and your friend had a really good sexual experience and then she went off and got married, and that's cool, but how does that add to this conversation, right? How does that add to the lives of the men that are listening to this conversation, that hear this and think that it's okay to have nonchalant relationships sexually or platonically with trans women? How does that enhance or enrich the way that trans women feel about Black men in this conversation, especially considering that you're a representative of them in this particular moment? I think that we have to be really mindful of the images and the words and the voice, right, that we use in certain spaces, because those things hold a lot of weight. And I think that if there weren't other men on stage, if there hadn't been a robust conversation before you, and some of us had just entered the room and heard you speaking, you might have just upset a lot of people. And I think that it's this nonchalant attitude about the lives of trans women, and it's this nonchalant attitude about the ways in which we educate you all, that get y'all that nasty attitude or that negative attitude or those eye rolls that we give a lot of you all, because you don't understand that for a lot of us, right, this is not a play like, oh, like, I guess I'm doing this today and I guess it was a thing that I enjoyed moment. This is our life, and this is our livelihood. And I think that even in spaces where the girls are not looking to get married or run off into the sunset with somebody, the girls are looking at the very least for our lives to be respected, as you know, as everybody's lives should be respected, and our existence to be taken seriously. And so when we open up spaces and we allow you all to learn from us, if all you need to do is sit back and listen sometimes, it's better to do that than to input something after waiting for 10 minutes to say nothing. Right, and it just felt.
Okay. So let me and I understand what you're saying, where you're coming from. So to say that I am kind of laissez-faire or being jovial, so in quite honestly, I think that in most situations and circumstances we have disagreements in the ways in which we go about things, and for a majority of it, like I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. To say that I'm taking this lightly by any stretch of imagination is wrong. And of course, we don't know each other in the way in which we communicate, nor the intentions of our words, other than in this brief encounter. And I understand how that can be seen as I'm just being kind of like whatever. But in the end of this, I'll be quite honest with you. And again, you don't know me. But for her, I would do anything, like in for real. And I don't even know how to say this or begin to say this. Like, she is one of the very first women I've ever loved in my life, and I would do anything to protect her from then till now. So to say that it was just an experience and it meant nothing, that's you don't know that. And also for the seriousness and the things that you go through, and saying that sometimes it's best to listen. Yes, we listen. Yes, we understand the stories. Yes, we understand the grievances and the atrocities that you go through every day. And I understand that. I get that. I've listened to many of her stories and stories from other trans women that I have dealt with and I'm friends with across the board in general. And I understand what it's like to go through a day and to not understand whether or not you're going to make it through the day, but given whatever situation that you're experiencing. I totally understand that. And
you never understand. You can only empathize, right? But you'll never truly understand. And I think that this is a part of that conversation that we needed to hear, not the fact that you had the experience and now she's married or whatever,
right? When we talk about the ways in which, right, when we're having these conversations, your tone is extremely important because we don't know you, right? But what you know, Nicholas, is that a lot of the trans women have been wronged by men that look like you. And so when you're speaking, there has to be an extreme amount of intent behind your message. There has to be an extreme amount of attention to your tone and intentionality behind what you're saying, because you only get one shot, right, to be the voice for the people that you're trying to convince that you care about. And so when you came here and you borderline giggled your way through your point, right? And as we're sitting here listening to you say that, you know, she was the first and the only woman that you loved, right? Or like one of the first women that you loved. But that begs the question, and especially in this particular conversation, why are you not the one that's married to her, right? Why is she married? That was my question. Because Dante got a man now. You know, so that's one of those things. But to answer your question, like in my first experience, I wasn't ready for that, and that's the truth. And I'm going to walk forward through that and stand on it. And that's a conversation that she and I have had in spades. And at the same time, like everybody arrives at their journey or continues on their destination at their own time and in their own place. In addition, I wanted to address one of the other statements you made in regards to how cisgendered men or men like myself do trans women so wrong, and not to say that I'm playing tit for tat or to purposely negate what you're saying, but I've also heard the exact opposite of those stories. And so it's definitely a two-way street in which we all.
Nicholas, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that you've proven your point already to Hope and every other Black trans woman on the stage. I don't think you need to continue to prove that you are this certain type of person when it comes to trans people or trans women or whoever. I'm not. We get it, we understand, but you have already taken up enough space, and I think that was the point that Hope was making. On top of your tone, and on top of your, you know, the aura of your point and how it seems like you're being nonchalant. Whether that is the truth, I still feel like you have to take into consideration that you've already taken up so much space, and there are plenty of other, you know, people on the stage and Black trans women who are waiting to be heard. So
I definitely don't want to take away from anybody else. I thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and I wish you all have a great
Stacey up next in the queue.
Hey everybody. So I was gonna go somewhere, but all the stuff that's happened kind of just proved it in a different way. So like the whole impact versus intent, and like not to call out like Nicholas or even Vince earlier, it's just like when you come into these spaces, you know, forget I'm gonna go back. So then like I've had conversations before, and it's still about the impact versus the intent. Like when you're dealing with in the community with trans women, specifically Black trans women, and you're choosing to date or be an ally to, you need to understand that you can't cure cancer with cost therapy. And I say that to say that the cancer, the epidemic that is the Black trans woman experience and how we experience society and how we're marginalized, these little things that y'all are doing ain't cutting it. This cost therapy is not curing this cancer. So when you step into these spaces, you have to be extra mindful. You're going to have to be extra patient. You're going to have to be extra compassionate because society has traumatized us in such a way that we're already on guard. It's fight or flight. When the eyes open to when the eyes close. And I know that's a big thing. And like, I would love for you guys to be able to date us the same way you date this woman, the same way Vince said. You can get right and get left with that. But as for a trans woman who's experienced certain traumas dating men like that, you can't come to us that way because it's triggering. And while our healing is our responsibility, if you're stepping into our space and think that I'm choosing to love you or be in whatever with you, then guess what? You're going to have to do X, Y, and Z because that's what the community requires. That's what the cancer requires in order to be healed. So I want to say, and also with, not to like focus on him, but Nicholas, it's the point that when someone is telling you, this is how this came across in the face of Black trans women when we're having that conversation, it's better to sit with it, even if you're uncomfortable, and be like, damn, let me hold this. I appreciate what you said, and it didn't need a rebuttal.
Because the rebuttal now is you're trying to rebut Hope's perception and the way her experience that this is what happened, and that's not cool. So I said all that to say you can't approach this situation with trans women, even if you're an ally, like with the conversation with Troy and Miley. Like, it seems like it's not going to happen, but if you do want to be in this community with us, you just have to go harder. That's just the fact of the matter, because we're dying. Honestly, the ugly truth is, it's probably one of us dying right now. And that's just the ugly fact of the matter. It's probably someone dying right now, and we can't afford to keep waiting for you guys to be public and to politicize your movement when somebody's dying right now.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so it gets to the point that you can't handle it. This isn't a thing where it's like some meaningless, I can't remember who said it, that it's just some sports event where you guys are passionate about. If you choose to lay in the bed and be in community with a trans woman and you're not out there roughing it and getting out the mud like she is, then you have not earned that, and you're doing a disservice to her and a disservice to yourself in the way that you hold yourself as a man. You know what I mean? And also, like, for the trans women in our space, it's also like, I understand the way chaser and transamorous sits and how that can ping a nerve in us, but I also think it's because we recognize the view in which society sees trans women. So it's like, some people don't like the transamorous term, but like, I feel like owning your womanhood in the sense of saying that trans is different and just as beautiful is a way to like negate that awkwardness, because someone can appreciate you for your transness, and it's a beautiful thing because your transness is a beautiful thing. It's not an in spite of, it's because of, you know what I mean? In kind of turning it on its head and saying that this is something to be revered, it'll kind of give you just a different perspective of which someone's trying to love you. I know it's ugly because sometimes it comes down to genitals, but if there's a beauty in anything about you, it's in you wholly, is that part. I just feel that we also have to do, and to meet these men somewhat halfway, we have to do our own healing. Because when they talk and they come to us with their real problems, sometimes our trauma bumps up against theirs and we don't give them a chance to feel anything fully before we're attacking them. And I don't think that that's a healthy way to get to a place where we're like, we need you to show up, but are we creating a place where they can show up and also be themselves because we've created a space for them with us to feel vulnerable enough to want to do that. But not to negate the fact that, like Coach said, there are hidden chasers that are learning the language. And so, but have the
For me, the
mindset of,
trade is learning to read and write, please.
yes, like, but it's given very each one.
That's what I was
they're
going to say.
reporting
I feel
back.
like there needs to be a space for people to share their truth without people to share their truth. I feel like what I heard was a nervous laughter, actually, that I think got me interested. I feel like there needs to be a space for people to kind of like awkwardly share their truth without us being home policey, as far as like, I didn't perceive, I perceived ignorance for sure, but I didn't necessarily perceive that individual to be trying to necessarily make light of something. I felt like they were very umbrella about their past and what their intent was going forward, and I feel like I want to be clear that when we're in these spaces, we are opening this up to just anybody who wants to be brave enough to get on stage. And I feel like just because someone doesn't say it in the most perfect tone doesn't always mean that it was bad. That's just my 2 cents, and I respect everybody's opinion, and I respect what you were saying, Hope, in particular, about respecting their space. So I do agree with the point. I just feel like we got to make sure that we're not stepping on conversations because we, just because.
And Chris, I just really need to step in.
Okay,
the ladies
really quickly.
Okay.
Before we go, I'm sorry, Stacey, Anastasia, thank you for that word. That's what I really appreciated all that. Does anybody else get on the list after Troy? Anybody else want to share?
I'm triggered now.
Me.
So Brianna, let me real quick. Real quick. Okay, so Nicholas is new to the game. He's not comfortable having these conversations. And there have been times, and I have been reminded by people here that sometimes or enough enough graciousness to let them trip over themselves because they don't know how to have the conversations because they've never had them before. And I've been doing this for so long. My expectation sometimes of someone who is new to even having the conversations openly, and especially in a forum like this, it's like, oh, it's cringeworthy. But that's why our spaces are important. Getting back to one of the first comments that I made, allowing someone like that to be in that space and to hear from other men who have been there, through married men. He knows a man who's married to the woman he's talking about. So he's afforded that now and can have those conversations in a group of men who have been there. So again, it's a small nuance, and I know in a lot of ways, from some of the conversation, it's that that's not doing enough, but we're doing the work, and we have to do more because most men are stuck in fear. They're going to remain in fear, and they don't see any way out of it. There's no excuse for it. There's none. There's just no excuse for them being scared. And we got to do something. We got to do more.
But Troy, I hear you, and no one was saying anything about that. It was more so about that this conversation we were speaking calculus, and he came up and he brought basic arithmetic. So it was about reading the room, and we were just having a conversation where we were actually digging deep to talk about issues on a macro level. And he interjected a personal story that was very micro, and we've passed that because we're trying to actually move the needle and have a conversation about what can be done and what that looks like. That's all that's being said. And we do understand the fear, the trauma, the tone policing. We get all of that. But for the sake of this specific conversation where you have heavy hitters on stage, and by heavy hitters, I mean people that understand and grasp on an academic level of what the trans experience is and how it plays our community. That's what I mean by some heavy hitters. And when you have someone come up stage like, yeah, I got this experience too. Great, thank you. But we're talking about this on this level, and we're actually trying to write it out, map it out, and make it so that it's moving forward. Just like Anastasia said, someone is possibly dying right now, and I hate if I open up my Instagram and I see it and I'm reposting it. It's almost like, goddamn, she was right. So the conversation that we're having in this specific moment, this one right here, is how can we do better? And you have trans women on the stage, you have Black men on the stage. This is the conversation that we're having. I'm not interested right now, it's my time and the amount of work that I do in the community to coddle someone's feelings because they're nervous about having this conversation. So we can have that conversation with them at some other time, because I get you, Samaya. Yes, nervousness, I get it. But this conversation with these people that are on this stage with the amount of power that we're able to present and move the needle forward, this is the people that need to be sitting in this conversation, not them. So I just wanted to add that to you, Troy. I'm done speaking.
Sonny, I put you on the list. We have Brianna next.
Oh no, I didn't. No. Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
I have Brianna, Vince, and then Sonny. So, Brianna, you wanna?
No, I was just playing. I was playing. Go ahead.
My bad. I'm trying to get everybody to get out of my action. Vince, you have something that you wanted to say, and then we got Sonny.
Yeah, I'm driving right now. I hope y'all can hear me. I just feel like I'm somebody I'm not saying I am proud, like I said before, but I feel like I normally get rejection from the trans. I normally get, they don't want my support, and I feel like I don't even have the courage, like you said, or be brave enough to even say something. I am, but I'm weird on my shoulders. I walk hand in hand with you. I support you in every way possible. Just because I don't want to marry anybody, that shouldn't make me less of a person or less of a supporter or anything. Like, I mean, you want to call me a fake? That's fine. I ain't tripping about that. But I don't think like y'all want supporters, but I feel like you push them away at the same time. Like, and that's just like I'm willing to go through the same fight you go through and everything, get talked about or whatever. I'm willing to go through fights, but I feel like from the people that I'm trying to support.
Well, it's different when you're fighting to fuck us versus fighting to extend our lives. Our lives are being involved in it. That's two different fights. Your behavior diminishes your message, sweetheart. Ooh, my God.
Can I please say
Okay,
something?
yeah, Sonny, you're right. Go ahead.
I just feel like these conversations are really, really tricky because the picture always gets painted into how Black men or how men treat trans women, whether they're sexualizing us or whatever they do, and in what ways those actions can be justified or not. Instead of the picture, actually being painted as to, how can we make trans women safe in society, and how can we stop people from killing trans women. And I just feel like the conversation just kind of gets like internalized and personalized. And in reality, like trans women don't get that kind of grace. So when we say things like, hey, like this is what we're talking about, we're saying it for a reason because hundreds and thousands of people who are listening to us, and we can't be all over the place with our message because just it's that word that Hope said earlier, intent. Our intent when we speak about these conversations is that we have to do the work on and off this app. Whoever we talk to, whoever we touch, because our lives are still under attack, and now they're attacking children. So it's serious. It's really, really serious.
Definitely facts on that one.
I agree. You can now check little people's genitals for sports like that. They do that for real? In Florida, it's been officially passed that the way that they will do it now is by administering physicals. But those physicals don't have to be conducted at a professional doctor's office. They will literally send you to the nurse's office, and the nurse can just basically say, drop your pants. And it's not for any medical reason. Wasn't there a whole? I mean, it's unethical. It's completely unethical. It's completely illegal. And it's one of those things that it won't last long. The ACLU is suing. If you want to know more about that, because I know that Chris specifically you're the space to have this conversation, I'll be doing a live with Chase Strangio from ACLU tomorrow via Plume, and he is the main lawyer that'll be heading the lawsuit against this specific laws that we're talking about right now. So if y'all want to know more about that and like the rest of the laws that are going out, because right now there are 100 anti-trans bills, and some of them have been passed. So if y'all want to know a little bit more about that, then tomorrow just be on your phone if you're on Eastern time at 1 p.m. Sorry, learn more about that. But I don't want to divert the conversation anymore. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, no, just speaking about, the murders and all that, that was kind of, one of the motivations for me. People ask, why did you get out there and get on a podcast and do this? I just have to. Nobody else was really doing it, but they had to. And I think with the more men, like a lot of my own guys have started their own content stream to just try to reach more people. A piece of the process really is getting more men. The more people we get to humanize trans lives and value trans lives, the better, the more men we can get to deal with themselves, get them to a point where they don't have this freak out moment where they kill a trans person because they're afraid. I think there's value in that in terms of what we're doing. And, I know it's not on but digital is definitely a great way to just reach as many people as possible. And, really kind of try to change hearts and minds and get men to listen. And sadly, there are a lot of men out there who, I'm sorry, there are thousands of trans out there who will only hear if it's coming from men. And, I'm not saying that's right or that's the way it's supposed to be or anything like that. I'm just saying that as a reality. So I think it is important for a lot of us guys to really just broadcast out there because, even if we say one life, it was all worth it. Obviously we want to say more than one, you know, we help guys move forward and just change and spur on their growth and get them to think differently and get them to understand that there's nothing wrong with them for what they like and who they are. You know, I'm telling you just first, and it just really kind of makes me highlight like why it is so important what Troy does with a lot of guys that he talks to, and what I do with some of the guys that I talk to, and with this podcast, and whatever content producers are out there. Like the more of us that get out there, the better. And I just really wanted to highlight that. I know I'm just sidebar conversation here. Anybody else wants to?
Chris, what I wanted to let you know, one second, you know. I just wanted to tell you that I just wanted to let you know that I, for one, appreciate you bringing this topic to the forefront. And when I hit you up about it, you were ready and willing, and even ready and willing to bring your people with you to even give us the insight into your world, because you know we don't know conversations are like. We don't know what you men feel. The way you confide in one another, I can imagine you're probably gonna tell us exactly how you feel. You know, and I remember somebody felt a way about some of the comments being made on your podcast or the things being said in your I guess whatever the group is. And when you explained to me what it was, I further understood it. So I just want to let you know, give you your flowers and tell you that I appreciate you.
I got something to say. Chris, you just triggered me. It's like I'm playing.
Oh, hey, that's on my blood pressure.
It's giving PS gaslighting. Not the translating again.
No, but this is a conversation that unfortunately we just gonna have to push through, clash, go back and forth. I'm willing to do that. I think this is all very necessary, especially to get the men on a short learning curve, because you know the women, we've been out here organizing, and the fact is we're light years ahead of the men. But you know these things are kind of necessary to jumpstart y'all, to get y'all need to be. To my ladies, like I think it's great to have a divestment policy, but I don't want us to be unrealistic. Like none of us are never going to have sex with a DL. That's just not realistic, and it's okay to have your fun.
Are you 3 months GL free? Thank you.
Well, girl, I'm not, and I'm not policing. I feel like if I asked every week if they was on the DL, I wouldn't expect it all. So for me and mine, I think it's okay. I just think you have to know how to navigate and know how to do it safely, because it's a way you can clear a piece, especially a messy DL piece, when you give. You're only here when I act like I'm on the DL. When I make you my trick, you can come over here and you satisfy me, and then you can go home. There will be no laying up so you can scope my place. Like there'll be none of that. You come and you leave, because some of us, everybody is not going to be strong enough to abstain, and like we as women, we should give ourselves permission to have as much options as we need and not feel shamed and not feel shunned, because some of us still want to have a hot girl summer.
And no one's shaming that. And I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing if that's your prerogative. I take the stage. I don't want anything less. So if a man is not able to love me out loud, I don't want him. And that's just the standard that I have. So I'm not interested in anyone's DL. I'm not interested in anyone that's trying to figure it out. I'm not interested in anyone that's questioning, let me see, and maybe just this, let me just figure. No, I'm not interested. If you don't know who you are, it has nothing to do with me and my transness. If you don't know who you are as a man, I'm not interested, because that lets me know there's a level of growth that you have not yet to achieve yet. And I don't have the time to think on that. I don't have time to test
and be with this DL man and he's scoping me out and he robs me or he sets me up to be personally attacked because that's our reality. I have a trans sister that she went on a date with a guy and they sent the Uber. Allegedly, she thought that he was sending an Uber, but it was somebody that was setting up to rob her. She is now in a coma. So I'm not interested in DL. I'm not interested in anyone that because we talk about how chasers can commit to their role. They can, and they'll do so in just enough for you to let your guard down. I'm not interested. If I don't know, if you have not done the work and you're not able to be who you are without me being trans on your arm, I'm not interested. And again, there's no shame to whomever that is dating someone and still going through their journey of being trans. That's your prerogative. But for me and the liberation that I stand for, I'm not interested in anything less.
I just wanted to say I host a group for people who want to be DL free. Join my club, Mystic Lounge.
Yeah.
We can be DL free. I've been DL free for some time now, and I believe that, other girls can be DL free too if they don't decide. But if you want to continue to do the DL, please do.
I also want to add that hold on a second. I also want to add that this is not just about respectability politics.
Right.
That regardless of whether you are DL or not, that the issue is much deeper when it comes to trans women and how we're seen in society, whether that's behind closed doors or not. And I just feel like to throw DL men in the mix is kind of like a slap in the face, to be honest.
I feel like the way it fits, like, if you're having a man over and y'all just gonna be nasty and that's nobody's business because y'all grown, that's one thing. But to say that I'm not telling anybody because of how you fit as a person in society, that's where the shit is kind of like, no, we can't do that. Like, not because of that. That's some other shit. So I think that's the difference between like regular hookup culture and then a DL person saying that who you are as a person isn't even good enough to be like, oh, I've seen you sneak out of so and so house. Okay, they're gonna go back and guess what? It's gonna be another RIP. So I think that's where that place fits.
Right. Oh, okay. You just sparked something. About 21 years ago, I'm sorry, who was the last person speaking? Because I was away from my phone. But you sparked something. There's a guy who I used to work with, have known for now maybe 35 years, who 20 plus years ago, I saw him coming out of a trans woman house. We invited her over for dinner, but she said her man was coming over. The next morning, we both leave to go to work. And he freaked out. He's denied it ever since. We stopped being friends. And you said something, do the work. A lot of men aren't doing the work. They don't know how to do the work. Yeah, that ain't an excuse. Because a lot of them sit in DL, or what I call functional DL, where they're out in the community but not out in their real lives. And they learn the lingo, they learn the language, they learn what to do and how to do. But there are signs that shows where they are. Those are discussions. But in a sense, because they learn the lingo, but little cues and how they act, where they take you, or if they take you anywhere. But that's a whole nother conversation. But my point is, I'm a little disappointed because there aren't a lot of men here having the conversation. And what gets frustrating for me is, I have to hear the same 2 or 3 men speak all the time when there's more men out there. I know other men have their other things to do, but as you ladies are saying, and I'm watching who's in the room, I'm not hearing voices that sound like me, and it's disappointing.
Well, let me change my voice so you can hear voice.
Brianna, please.
Well, no problem. I just.
I'm gonna say something for you. Shout out to how you talking on this thing.
Imagine how we feel.
But a week from now, or even tonight, or even an hour from now, it'll be people following us in these conversations, sliding.
I know.
I know.
The great thing is how to keep the conversation going is to just always have this conversation continually. There's so many rooms on Clubhouse, and the girls got to keep on having this conversation. You got to learn from one another, and if you want to change, you got to be able to have those conversations. I think the thing about it though is we gave them the playbook 35 or 45 minutes. Yeah, but you know all of them ain't even here. So here. We are not like okay, y'all. The pussyfooting is the thing that irks me. No, it's no pussyfooting. Everybody. No, I'm not saying like what it's. I feel like it's the pussyfooting around accepting mediocrity from men, and because I feel like the competition is getting ready to come to a close, right? But there has been no real like promise. There's no accountable measures being taken, right? Where when Chris come back, when Troy come back, when Vince come back, like when all the niggas come back, like there's no accountable measure being taken. But we've given them, right? We've already told y'all, fuck your podcast, fuck your little inside group, right? We need action to come out of this in a way that is going to be tangible, that is going to be visible, that is going to be physical, that shows up, right? In the same way that the girls show up for ourselves, in the same way that the girls show up for black men, the same black men that kill us, that harm us, that hurt us, and all of those things, right? And we keep hearing these mediocre ass solutions to that. And my thing is, Chris, you know I love you. Chris knows that he's my brother. We talk about this shit all day, and I talk to him the same way I'm talking to y'all right now. And it's one of those things where if we keep accepting, like Nikki said back in the day, the sliced pickles on the table, that's what the fuck we gonna keep getting, right? It don't matter how many times we let them know that no, in my rates, okay, I asked y'all for blue M&Ms and Evian water. If we accept the pickles and don't say nothing about it, that's what we're gonna keep getting. And I feel like that's exactly what happens in these conversations, is that we're asking these men for blue M&Ms and Evian water, and they keep bringing us that Powerade and pickle juice. But here's the conversation of this is what I want to say. So I'm with her. Actually, we come out there and do some shit. We want to see some shit. The problem is when there are the girls that make, like they say, they make the room for the DL men, and they don't care about nothing that we're talking about in this room. They don't care about this conversation because they enjoy DL men and they're comfortable in that space. So it's not for those girls to work out about the day. No, it's not for those girls, but there will never be this whole solution that you speak of, because although these girls sit on this platform and say they don't like DL men, many of them are going to respond to those DMs, and they may link with them, and they may create space for them, and that's okay. But the actual solution that you are seeking, until I think as a group we all have a consensus, I really don't know. But Chanel, what about the men that were on stage and how? Yeah, no, they've been here. It's only a few. It's not many of them at all.
I would like to also.
But it doesn't matter if we sew all of our pussies together. The work is still for them to do, and we literally sat on the stage and gave them beautiful steps to take, and we were met with too. That's a whole percentage. That's not enough. I just don't think the sexual proclivities should negate their responsibility to organize. No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Who's calling my name? Somebody new on stage. They wanted to speak. Okay. Well, who is it? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Peter. I use the lounge as my broadcast space. There was a point made about how cis men identify as cisgender men, how we show up for our trans siblings when it comes to the personal work. And I will speak to my personal experience. I have been in these spaces and myself had moments in which I've, unbeknownst to me, might have transgressed. I might have said something, not had the vocabulary on the understanding, and had been willing to get read on stage and to be corrected and to be in that space of discomfort. And
then outside of the room, also questioning myself. Okay, bro, that was a bit transphobic. That was a bit homophobic. That was still, that was something that you have to investigate within. And I'm a person in queer community. And this is just my regular day-to-day checking in of how do I show up in my capacity. I also heard folks talk about one particular person. I think it was Troy saying how, well, I'm not sure if it's Troy or Chris, but someone who might identify as transamorous, a man, specifically cisgender men, how they might hear all the words from our trans siblings, but how they've maneuvered, how they've been socialized, they would only hear it from another man. And I can attest to that. I was in a room where, not gonna lie, a guy came in and was giving chaser vibes, was confronted, and the girls were telling him, hey, you're moving in this way, you're moving like a fuck boy, it's not a good look. And it wasn't up until one of the girls asked me, hey, or asked one of the males in the room, or male presenting folk, or male identifying folk, I should say, in the room, that I came in and I said, hey, bro, listen, how you're coming off in the space, this is not your space to really maneuver and how you're maneuvering. And just pretty much saying the same thing as I was telling him. But because it came from me, he was like, oh, I heard you. And I just wanted to speak to that, at least me personally, I'm trying to do the work and I'm willing to be uncomfortable. And I'm hoping that folks who are cisgender male carry themselves in a similar way. So my name is Peter. I'm Elijah MIC, and I'm done speaking.
I want to speak on the divestment of DL men. Just like divestment and investment, that's the opposite. Just like we invested to the DL culture, a lot of us on this stage, and it took us steps and years of maneuvering around these cis hetero black men. It's going to take steps to get out of that. It's not like a cutoff. You invest in something, you invest over time. And when you divest for something, you divest from it over time. So no one is going to completely go cold turkey, because I'm going to be completely honest. There are still DL men that are my friend. There are still DL men that I can come over and get a little piece from. But there are also transamorous men that I have dated and that I hold to another standard. I am still learning how to divest from a community of men that have only showed me that they were interested in me for years and years and years. So now we have this term and these group of men transamorous, and we're learning, what that looks like and what they can give to the community, and they'll stand up for us. So the divestment does take steps over time. So it's not going to be a cold turkey thing, but we do have to hold ourselves and those men accountable in steps and ways. And if you don't see that those steps and ways are being completed, that's when you have the right to cut them off. But just going cold turkey for a community that has been literally there since we have come into our own, it's kind of unrealistic. But the only way in which we can change and have some change and kind of, lessen the murders, because it's not going to stop them completely. And every trans woman is not on the stage. We, like someone said, we are some heavy hitters. We do have targets. People do know us. They can follow us. So, men know how we come. But there are a lot of trans women who are in their homes, in their apartments, in their hotel rooms right now who are not hearing this. And it does come in steps. So don't feel guilty if you are, getting what you get out of trans DL men, but just know that it is comes with a risk, and your name may be in the headlines tomorrow. But just make sure that you are taking those steps and having those hard conversations. Because even me being in a relationship since last September with the transamorous man, there was still so much stuff that he did not know. He knew that, yes, his mom knows and his family knows about me, but coworker, basketball team, disclosure, religion, my family, all of those things still have to get answered. So the investment of DL men is going to be a process. But something has to be done to get these men out of close proximity from us. And they can know all the rules, the policies and the handbooks and the manuals that we put out on these apps. All of them are not up here. We're talking to Chris. I talk to Chris almost every day, all day. And he's not the person that needs this message. And the men that need the message are not going to listen or be associated with this room. But we are in more close proximity than Chris or Troy because they're in our inboxes. We've known that we've created these situationships that they can thrive into. So we do have to be the enforcement of a lot of these things.
Can I add on to that, please?
Hold on, Sunny. The issue isn't DL men. It's not even chasers or transamorous men. We can divest from them all day long and they will still attack. The issue is the reason why they are DL, why they are chasers, and why the deeper conversation of why Black men feel as though they can express themselves and love out loud. So we can divest all day long. That isn't the issue. That's not the conversation that I'm having. The conversation I'm having is why do men feel the way that they need to DL. And I'm not talking about cultural, and I'm not talking about for safety, because I know that there are some cultures that DL men have to be DL because their life is at stake. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people that live in the United States that are free and able to move in ways in which that I would never have privilege to, but they still feel the way they need to be DL for the sake of their own masculinity. And I don't even call it toxic, I call it fragile. Because for me to be trans, that says a lot about your masculinity that my trans disrupted. So the conversation isn't about you being DL. I don't care about DL. You can be DL all you want to. That doesn't bother me. The problem is, why does this man, this Black man, feel as though he can express himself in a way that everyone else should? That's the problem. And that's what the conversation needs to start and end. Not with the DL men. I'm not interested in them.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
But I don't feel that that's our responsibility, though. We have
but that's our responsibility. But that's okay. But that's a responsibility for us men. And we men, we're doing the work. There's not a lot of us doing it, but we're doing the work, and we are encouraging others to do the work. We're encouraging others. We're pulling them out of the shadows. We're pulling them into the light. We are making them understand that what you're doing, number one, is not sustainable. And I, as a man, I'm not going to allow it. And I am going to call you out. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Chris mentioned earlier, we've literally kicked some guys off the island because they're so far gone. I don't want to associate with you. And then we put out warnings. There was an individual put out Miami put out a post about him. I said, oh, this was him last year, and here's something the year before that. Been warning about this guy. This is who this guy is. He's a danger. Blah. So and there's other guys who they tried to step in and help him out, and then realize, this dude is whack. And so there are some guys who aren't going to change. There's some guys who are dangerous. There's so much. But we men, we say things, and the other a brother who stepped in and said sometimes it takes our voices or the voices of a man to check another man because sometimes we don't listen. So all of those things are important. I got to go, y'all. I love this conversation. I will always be here for it. So y'all can hit me up anytime. And if I got the time to talk, because I like to talk, I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
All right. What you say, Ismail? Yeah, I just said I wanted to add on to that. It's definitely onus to heal themselves. But I do think it's always going to be, there is a responsibility that we hold. And like I said, it's a collective responsibility for Let Me Heal. It's a responsibility that we hold to receive healed men. I think that's a responsibility that we have as women, especially as trans women, especially as marginalized women. Like, no matter how vulnerable and no matter how scary it is to receive a man that wants you in your wholeness, that wants you as a person, not just for your body, not just for what we've been conditioned to understand and conditioned to feel. We have to do the healing, and we also have to work together to expand
what we expect and expect, what we want from men in order to receive these healed men, because when you are able to receive, whenever you're able to see that you are worth more than a DL man can give your body to you. It doesn't have to be your lifestyle. It doesn't have to be what you regularly receive. It could just be like a body to you. It could be like that man's a hoe. Like that, like when you want to have a hot girl summer, that's what it will be to you. It won't just be it. It'll be that. It won't be, this is what I tolerate. This is what I put up with on a regular basis. This is all that I know. This is all that I continue to know. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to receive, like when these men are ready and when these men are doing the work and when we meet these men, it's important for us to receive and be able to have this kind of dialogue in real life, not just on social media, because we be in real vulnerable in the streets, right? So I think it's very important to open yourself up, and no matter how sometimes it's scary to trust people, I fully understand that. It's very important that you try your best, and your best is all you can do to receive a healed man or receive these men when they're healed, because they can open you up to so many things that you may not know you were worth beforehand.
I guess for me, it just feels like it depends on where we're meeting these men at, or what level we're meeting these men at. Because I'm meeting you in a space where you're like, newly experimenting with trans women or whatever, and then I let you inside of my life, and I develop feelings for you, and the dynamic has been the same for years. And we get to a point where, like, okay, we're at a crossroads. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to jump across the bridge with me? And then you say no. And then I'm left picking up the pieces. And that's just been the dynamic forever and ever. So it's like, when are we actually going to change that narrative for ourselves? Because trans people, trans women, Black trans women are progressing in society. And I feel like we can't be Captain Save the DL man. Like, we just can't do that. It's not realistic for us, because it's like, in what ways how are we redefining our existence, when it comes to being safe or being respected in society? It just doesn't make sense to me.
I want to say, I feel like, people do what you do on the deal. But I said, on the other day, I feel like my responsibility to myself as a person, especially as a Black trans woman, has to stand above and beyond, even sometimes what I want to experience romantically, especially because at the end of the day, knowing what the lifespan is, knowing all the other challenges I go through the world, like, Dominique has to run fucking business. I have a six-figure business. I go to school, right? I have to advance my life to the point where I'm stable. And I also feel like I have to live my life so successfully that it makes room for the other girls to come behind and to be able to build careers in the professional space. So I'm going to say it this way. I want the girls to go where the love is for the girls, because every second you lay in the bed with somebody who's not trying to build a life with you is taken away from a second that you could build your own stuff. This is Dominique, and I'm finished speaking.
Let me tell you, Dominique, I appreciate you being. Oh, excuse me. I appreciate I just want to thank everybody for coming out to the Elite Lounge, having this amazing conversation. Follow our account for all the amazing topics. All the elite girls are here. And
please follow the moderators.
And so, but we're gonna close it out. Any last things, Chris?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. There's way too many people. Naomi, Miss Mojo, like Anastasia, D, Asia, like everybody. I'm sorry if I didn't mention you. So many dope work here, and I kind of want to leave some of the women in the community with this. you know, we're not where we want to be right now. But I promise you, we're moving in that direction. And you know,
I just want to say, move it faster.
so
I just have
I'm
things.
trying. I wish I do what I can.
It's okay. Thank you, Jason.
So, yeah.
I just have one thing to say. Go ahead, Asia.
I was finishing.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
I was finishing. I just wanted to just thank everybody, but just know that, you know, we're moving in. I know we're not there right now, but again, we'll endeavor to do the work, and we will definitely, you know, endeavor to get some things visible for people. I mean, you know, it is fascinating how this came across the station, and there are people that got in here and never even heard of the word transgenders before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we're definitely at the grassroots beginning stages. But I just want y'all to know I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna just keep working. So I appreciate y'all for pushing.
What did you say?
To do better.
I just think, you know, a couple things to say. Thank you for creating this space. And some of their opinions. I would like to thank my elite lounge girls for coming to support Chanel. I would like to thank Miss Mocho, my sister. Thank you, Miss LaVaria, Dominique, Biz, the lounge, Miss Miles, Anastasia D. Everyone in the audience, just thank you for taking the time to speak, you know, lend your ear. Hopefully we can continue these conversations in the future. Kiki. And the Kiki room is open. So also another thing. Shout out to Vincent, the beautiful singer, and the Ryan Steinfeld. It was a thank good night. Bye. Thank you.
Stop your speakers.
Hooey. So that was a fucking conversation. That's for damn sure. You know, and it's it's a bunch of y'all that's on here that wasn't here in the beginning. We were planning to have a little post-show conversation with just the men. You know, the women are gonna have their little kiki room, and you know, the fellas, we're gonna do our thing over here. So, you know, what's going on, Mike?
Just trying to work out this arm that I got the vaccine in earlier. It's kind of mad sore over here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For sure. 1 second. Wanna do. Anywho, so yeah, you know, again, I think a big piece of that whole conversation was, you know, wanting everything today, immediate, you know, not giving any time for things to kind of growing us for us to get there. So, you know, I think again, there needs to be more space for men to grow to this. Trans women didn't become activists overnight. Like Brianna had mentioned, they are so much further ahead of us. You know, trans women can network and get organizations starting to get stuff done because they have experts for that. I'm going through this nonprofit process myself, and I know nothing. I literally know nothing. I'm just happy I have a woman in the community who's willing to help me file certain paperwork to get it done. And, you know, but once I get this thing down pat, I could teach somebody else how to do it and share, you know, offer tips and all that stuff. So I think, you know, we'll get there on the grand scale and all that stuff. But, you know, I have to be honest. I work 60 hours a week, bruh. Like, I work 60 hours a week, plus I do this. And I try to have a life. Like, there's a lot going on here. And, you know, it would be great if I could make my life being an activist and just like really set aside time to organize and get this stuff done like next month. That'd be really great. But that's not what it is right now. I don't have that time. So, anywho, I think it was a dope conversation, and we'll all get there. Mike, just wanted to ask you what your takeaways were from this conversation.
I was interested in what Hope Giselle had to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
powerful.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like when Troy answered that one chick that oh man, I don't remember her name, but
Oh, hold on. That Louisa chick that was in there asking like, I don't understand what the difference is.
oh no, I'm talking about earlier.
No. I just want to point her out because apparently she's an anti-trans, whatever the hell. Like, yeah. So she is yeah, she was a troll essentially. She was there to muck up the works and record and infiltrate. So I just
Okay.
wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry. Who
Nah,
are
but
you?
yeah, there was this one woman that like it was early on in the conversation. She was the first one to say anything negative. It wasn't Miss Mojo yet. It was one person before her. But
You talking
yeah,
about not me? I don't think she was sounding negative.
nah, I'm talking about the one that was like saying she believes transamorous men and chasers are the same thing. Um I forgot what her name was, but
Okay.
Troy responded to her right away after she was done, and I just kind of like had a moment of Electra in when she read that white lady and she was like, y'all heard that? like in my mind I was like, yes, like Troy hit the nail on the head. But yeah, her and Miss Mojo, I think the both of them were just
No,
absolutely
Miss Mojo
negative.
is dope. And I fucks with her because she really sees.
Yeah,
Um, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. I
yeah.
was just loving Miss Mojo.
I thought Miss Mojo was just completely negative. I didn't really think she had anything positive really to say.
Well, I can say I've interacted with her in other spaces, and she has been. There have been. She was the voice of reason.
Okay.
So it was me. It would be me. And I will just say there's a reason why I'm not on Clubhouse like that. It'd be me and another girl kind of going at it because she's, I hate cis men and, fuck men, whatever. She's got her issues. And, I'm sitting there sharing. And really, a lot of the times we were both right. We were just coming at it from different angles. And, Miss Mojo was like, look, both of y'all are saying some real shit and it can live in the same universe. Like, y'all both need to accept that both of y'all are right, which was, it's the realization that there's more than one truth in the universe.
It's just that
And both
tonight,
those truths can exist in the same universe.
yeah, it's just that tonight it's like Miss Mojo just went completely to that other side.
Like Hope, she was asking a lot of the men. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, it was like, well, I need you men to get it together and be like me. And I'm like, but I'm not like you. And I don't have all the organizing experience or any of this stuff like you. I'm a man who, my podcast hasn't even been going on for a year. Like, I'm not even a year into my podcast. Can I get a following so we can reach more men and do this work? It's like, yeah, you're not far enough along. You have to be where I'm at after my entire life's worth of experience. And it was really, I see it as an unreasonable request for it to be done tomorrow. Look, some shit got to be cooked in the oven. You can't microwave everything.
Yeah, but see, like my thing is, I don't mind them asking for us to get involved like that. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
cool with that. I'm like, yo, I would love to get involved like that. But if you know more about it than I do,
Mm-hmm.
then go and show me how to do it.
That's the
Teach me
part
that.
I don't think they want to. It's more like you should be able to do this on your own because I did it on my own. But I'm like, you probably had at least 2 generations of people before you showing you how it's done.
Exactly.
But they're like, well, y'all can get together for all this. Look, we can't even get more than a couple guys on a Zoom call every week. How the fuck are we supposed to get a bunch of people to show up in person? Like I think it's an overestimation of how organized this group of men are and how much they're willing to invest in terms of their time. And really, let's be real. There's a gang of niggas out there married to trans women and they ain't said word one. They ain't put themselves out there for shit. And it's like, yeah, but y'all loving on us, this. All right, well, go get the guys that are actually obligated and made vows to women. Because I bet you they'll have the same shit to say that I have to say, which is I work a full-time job. I have a life. I don't have time to organize some big event for people from all over the country to go to. It would be great if that were my job, but I work 60 hours a week and I'm struggling as it is. Like, it's just, okay. I don't know. I'm just like, go run to those dudes since you want to, you know, get the people that have the most skin in the game, supposed to be protecting X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, we're not holding the married guys' feet to the fire. Not that I'm here to be like, y'all should be, you know, get your torches and pitchforks and go for the married man, but it's just like, you don't come at them with that same energy. You come at us with that energy, like, bro, I still got a whole lot going on here. And obviously trans women doing they out there struggling every day and getting killed. And I get there's a lot going on in your life too. But you know, at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm most guys in this space are not full-blown activists where they know how to get the money to fund these events and get all this stuff going. And let's be real, a lot of guys in this space ain't got a ton of money. Yeah. It ain't no 6-figure, 7-figure dudes walking around these Facebook groups that I'm in.
No.
That I made, the other group. That ain't what it is.
No. Because there's only a certain percentage of people in the country that make that kind of money. And I felt as though the majority of the ladies on the call were positive. Like, you know, they were cool. It's just I
just think they're just tired of waiting for men to show the fuck up. I think it comes from fatigue. I think that there's a lot of fatigue, and they're just like, why aren't you giving me the answers I want right now? I've been waiting for so long in my life for y'all niggas to show up. And it's like, can we get niggas to just not be DL? Like, we're talking about calculus on there, and we ain't even in basic math. Can you count to 10? That's where we at.
Yeah, but see,
calculus.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing though. On one hand, I can think that way, like, oh, it's just coming from exhaustion. But on the other hand, you got to understand there's other ladies in this community that are just as exhausted or more, like Niambi, Amira, you know, Zay, Hope Giselle, you know, stuff like that, that are exhausted. But at the end of the day,
Claudette.
Yeah,
thanks for watching.
Or Claudette, but at the same time, they know how to get their point across without being that negative Nancy that is just going to complain. They're actually going to, you know, they're actually going to be eloquent in the way they put that across.
First off, I want to say I love my friend. I love my sister dearly. And a lot of y'all heard through that conversation. I talk to a lot of trans women a lot. Mm-hmm. And not as like, hey, baby, how you doing? It's, bitch, what you get into last week? Like, we be talking about life and all sorts of crazy shit. And we just share and we're there. We support each other as friends. And, you know, so I do value my friends that I fucks with on a regular goddamn basis because they've been my support. You know, I ain't gonna lie. It's been times where I didn't feel like I didn't want to talk to any of the guys about shit and I had to just talk to them. But again, this is the only podcast like this, the only piece of media like this, the first piece of media like this that's consistent, been going on, having these conversations, showing multiple men, having guests. We've been doing the whole fucking thing. No other piece of media has ever done this. And it's the fatigue and the tiredness and the impatience is, well, fuck that podcast. Y'all need to be out in the streets marching. And it's just like,
I've been there.
We'll get there. I hope we reach there. And you saw and at the end, I said, look, I just want y'all to know I'm going to continue to do the work and we're going to continue to try and get stuff going. Can you get it done now? No. Shit takes time. Like I can file for I'm not going to get my paperwork from my nonprofit back. And then after that, I still got to get funding. And then after that, I still got to get a whole ass healthcare plan. There's so much that goes into making a nonprofit. I'm doing it by myself without anybody to teach me how to do it. It takes fucking time. And to squeeze in time to set up a nonprofit while working 60 hours a week as the only Black digital manager in a whole fucking corporation full of TV stations. Like, it takes time. I'm fitting this in outside of what I do to live. Like, I can't explain this any simpler. So sorry, I'm kind of letting it all out, but you know, I think there was a lot of good shit in there, and there was a lot of real shit being said, man. And I appreciate a lot of the women that was in that room, and again, you know, I still fucks with a lot of girls in that room. I would say no matter who said what in that room, I don't have any enemies from that room.
I'm
No
not
matter
saying
how they approach it, I don't feel like that.
I'm not saying I got enemies. I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's a certain way that you approach a topic and get your point across. And I feel as though they just didn't have the eloquence in order to do so. You know, not all of them, just the two that I'm talking about.
I really think it was a look, I'm tired. I'm tired of saying it nice, or I'm tired of doing X, Y, and Z. And they're like, look, we told y'all what the fuck to do. Okay. Thank you for telling me what to do with my resources and free time. Okay, I will. So yeah, Grimaldi question: why did you all invite so many women to the conversation? It was a great conversation. However, it would have been great to hear more from transamorous men and why they think a transamorous person of a chaser. The large part why I couldn't get nobody on that motherfucking conversation is because Clubhouse, the app, is only on iPhones. And all these niggas got Androids. Troy, and one other dude was the only one that I could only get two other guys to roll with me in there and help share. But I would have been the lamb to the slaughter. And, you know, you could hear at a point, they was like, you know, all right, don't get defensive. I'm like, look, I got PTSD from Clubhouse and, you know, a lot of, what was it? You know, talking, I think Miss Mojo had mentioned, well, whatever. But yeah, I couldn't get nobody on fucking Clubhouse. Oh shit, Amia says it's on, because she was in there. She was in the room. So it's on Android as well now? Okay. Well, fucking search it, bro. It's on Clubhouse as well, or not Clubhouse. It's on Android as well. It's getting late. So, but you know, I think, look, there were a lot of really, really fucking amazing points made. My friend Anastasia, Stacy, preached the whole goddamn sermon tonight. I thank her so much. Same with Brianna, preached a whole motherfucking word tonight. And I think a big piece of it really, you know, for them was like, yo, use these DL niggas as DL niggas and don't get your hopes up and don't be sitting there left holding the bag because, you know, you made this, like one of the girls said, I made the bridge and I did this, and this. And then you're going to have to DM me about that one, bro. Figure that one out. But, you know, I was making the bridge and all that stuff, then to be left high and dry. But, you know, also, I think a bigger piece of that conversation about like with that guy Nicholas that was in there. You know, I think the real big part of that whole thing was there's a lot more Nicholases out there than me, than us. There's a lot more Vinces out there than Chris and Mike's. And there's just a lot more of those guys out there, and we're trying to tip the scales, but it is really like, you know, so many guys, the scale is not even close to being even or in the direction that it needs to be. So many of them. So, you know, this podcast, these platforms that we're building is really what it is in terms of getting the message out. There is no way to reach more people than digital at this point. But I guess I'm a true believer because that's my fucking job. I get paid to reach people and increase reach and all of that stuff. So, like, of course, I'm gonna be a true believer in the power of digital to reach people all around the world, people that, you know, you can't reach by word of mouth. But yeah, that Nicholas thing, I had to move him back to the audience because I was like, all right, bro, you done. You done got on here and played in everybody's face, and it's time to go. So it was kind of like I had to be the bouncer at the nightclub again.
All I know is he got vicious.
Oh, Hope. Roasted. God damn.
Yo, Trell over here looking like he just woke up from a 5-hour nap.
No, I did.
Man.
Not a 5-hour lap, but I just like it was like a 15
Oh, hey, Roy, jump in here, bro. Let me send you the link, man. Jump in here. You don't need to be in them comments, man. But yeah, man, like Hope.
My man's Roy was in though.
Roasted that dude, and she read the fuck out of him, and I was like, God. I mean, read him to like leave.
Yo, I'm just saying, while you was on the Clubhouse chat, my man's Roy was going in, bro.
Oh yeah, Roy had a lot. I'm like, bro, this I get in on it. Like, follow me on Clubhouse, you can find it, and all that stuff.
Clubhouse now. I just got on now.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you for getting on. So we have another guy in the conversation next time. That's for sure. We need more. Let me message Roy the link so my main man can
give me some bootleg iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
iPhone is cheap,
right?
iPhone ain't cheap, man.
Yes, it is.
They overpriced as fuck.
If you're a new customer, you probably could pay like $100 for an iPhone.
Yo.
All right, Roy, I sent you the
free.
I like LG too. LG's dope.
Trail, what are some of the things you took away from that conversation? Like, what are the parts, like highlights you want to?
Was that Troy Kennedy?
Yeah.
All right, I caught him. He was really talking real talk, and he's the reason why I said, "Yo, you know what? Let me download this shit," because he's right. There's many more of us out here,
you
know, that's open. You know, you girls just think you think us guys is all on the DL or, you know, just chasing. Nah, we really out here. You know, so when you have more guys involved, and I saw that the whole time when it was just you. I don't know who that other dude that was talking.
Nicholas, yeah.
Who is that?
I felt bad for that dude.
I don't know. He knows some people. Look, I would say it like this: the Nicholas guy. But here's the thing: the Nicholas guy, you know, while that wasn't the conversation for him to jump in on, that's the kind of guy I would absolutely give space to in our group, because he's the kind of guy who needs to have more conversation, who needs to learn a little bit more and kind of model certain behaviors from other guys. And you know, there needs to be space for that dude, and there is in our group, in our men's only group, and you know, obviously on these podcasts in the comments as well. But like, it's guys like him and guys like Vince that I would love to reach more so than the guys that are like the four of us here.
Dude,
I think there needs to. I like Samaya said, he was nervous. It might have been a nervous laugh. There needs to be space made for people entering this, and they don't know so much. And you know, while this wasn't the right conversation, because there were a lot of people, like the woman said, Naili said, you know, we're doing calculus, and he's trying to, you know, do basic math. But it's a gang of niggas doing basic math right now, or can't even do basic math. They still trying to count to 10.
Yeah. Which is why I felt
like 90% of the dudes out there. We are the mighty few, and we're not even at the level that a lot of those women in that room would prefer us to be. Honestly, I mean, I didn't feel like I'm happy that somebody was like, "Yo, thanks, Chris, for what you do." But there was definitely the sector of y'all niggas need to be doing so much more, and y'all ain't there yet. And I'm just like, okay, but when I get there, then what? What else? What other steps are you going to add to the staircase for me to truly be there?
They're so quick to call us chasers. They're so quick to call us clout chasers. They're so quick to say, "Oh, he's just doing this to get girls."
What other?
They so quick to say all these things. Oh, what you here for? That's weird. It's dumb shit like that.
But I think that's part of the conversation.
Like, I hate
that's the conversation that Nicholas brought up. But I wanted to bring up because Naili was like, when you get you a black trans woman behind you, once you do this stuff, we will support you. And I'm like, nigga, I ain't felt, I barely feel any support. I get nothing but dismissal and negativity out here. And the only thing that keeps me going is knowing that I need to give more of a fuck about the men that I'm trying to help than the women that are out here trying to shit on me or tell me I'm not enough or tell me I'm not doing good enough. So like later for all of that, we don't get support like we should be getting. We don't get And I was having a conversation with my friend D about this the other day. I was just, we're talking about, well, because black women, we gonna support you there. Okay, fine, you say that, but I'm not. Again, you say that's gonna happen, but my lived experience says that's not what's happening, because it took a white woman to create a video that said transamorous men, trans attracted men, men who are out there doing things in a meaningful way and not hurting their community and doing things the right way. I appreciate you. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for doing it the right way. Showing love to the niggas that's doing it right. Not showing love to all black men. Showing love to transamorous men who are out here doing the motherfucking work. Separate, because I could just say, well, I show love for all women. And then or I could say, I show love for all trans women. And you're going to be bitching and moaning that I'm not showing love to black trans women specifically. And I'm bitching and moaning right now that there is no love being shown for men who are openly transamorous, men who are out here claiming this shit, living this life, doing the work, encouraging others, standing in their truth, ready to take on the world. We get no love. We get, well, you should be better. You should be this. You should be that. And it's just like, oh, yeah, but I show love to men. You show love to all black men, and you show love to a lot of eye candy. You show love to the niggas that you like. Mm-hmm. And that's like me saying, I love women, but I only showcase the porn hotties. And I don't showcase any of the women that I actually know that aren't porn hotties. Like, it just doesn't, I don't feel it. I don't feel the appreciation in that. I don't. Maybe if they were like, yo, we fuck, like Roy has gotten some love with his t-shirt things and just been like, yo, this is what it is. But while Roy's doing that, there's also women saying, why the fuck these niggas got to be wearing t-shirts and shit? I mean, we've seen that even on this stream.
Yeah.
The comment section on the stream. In addition to the comment section in Facebook groups.
I don't know who the girl is. She's gonna talk about, oh, I don't want my man wearing a trans. Oh, I'm trans track shirt.
I mean, these are not monoliths. We are not a monolith. Women are not a monolith. All the women on the conversation, while they were dope as fuck, and I did appreciate things, there's just so many other. Again, while they say y'all transamorous men are this, but I'm not seeing that. Again, y'all are this, but we're not encountering this on the streets. I think there is a difference between what we run into and who we know. And when we step out that door, or we go to that event, the kinds of people that we meet may be different. And, Trev, I shouted you, I said, yo, we got guys in organizations. We got dudes that are out there volunteering and not ingratiating themselves with the community, but, becoming a part and just helping, volunteering. Right.
That's all I
We have guys that are doing that. And, like, you're not seeing it, but that don't mean it's not being done.
And I've been doing this for years. This is not something I've been doing for like 2-3 years. I've been doing this since about 2013.
There you go. Like, this ain't Planet of the Apes. All the apes ain't gonna rise up and everybody's gonna see it. Like, we're trying to move people in this direction. And I mean, truth be told, I love that the women confronted the fact that they uphold the problematic system of DL men. I do appreciate that. But, I'm sorry, I'm on one. I don't know. I'm just kind of decompressing, debriefing from this. But Roy, I know you were in these comments all day. I really want to hear a lot of what you have to say on the conversation, man.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that Hope said, I kind of do agree. Like, I think we need to do better. I think we need to do more. I'm not taking away nothing from what you're doing, Chris. I appreciate it. I love it. But like, I just think that we need to start being shown more. We need to, even if it's just from our end on ourselves, I think we need to start pushing ourselves more out there publicly, just to be shown, just to show the world that we are here. We do care. We do love. We do support, and we standing with our women of trans experience.
And to that, I would say to the men out there who are going to take this advice and do it, and do it in a way where, do this, do it where you don't give a fuck. about what black backlash even comes from the community, because when you put
Yeah,
yourself
you
out
got to
there,
be very unapologetic.
you have to be unapologetic. And there will be people from outside the community judging you, yes, but we already know that shit. That's what we're signing the fuck up for.
Right.
But just know that there will be detractors inside them. Oh, he's just doing this to get attention. Oh, he's just doing this for this. Look at this showboating ass performative ass nigga. Like all that shit, block it out and just do what you believe is right. Continue to do that. If you go in that direction with, you know, being out there a lot more, block out all the hate. That's the only way to really get to a lot of guys.
Do what I do. I go to these events. I don't be trying to be all up in these girls' faces. I greet them, hello, keep it moving. I'm not trying to get nobody's number. I'm not trying to do none of that. I'm chilling.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm there for the actual cause. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna show you I'm there for the actual cause. But hey.
This is a huge problem about it. You have to meet people where they are and help them move forward. But Diara, I know you didn't mean it in this way, but I'm gonna take it even physically. You know, it's really hard for us to find these DL men that need to move forward. Like, I would love to, if there was a DL man hangout spot, if there was a way I could send my videos directly to a pool of DL men, like I would. But really, that's where women kind of come in. Like, they need to be sharing this shit with them niggas. They know the niggas more than us.
They not
because
trying to
yeah, but Chris, when it comes to that being unapologetic and stuff like that, that's why when Justin did that thing that me and you had a small conversation about, I really did like where he was coming from with that, because even though I know you said, like, you know, it can kind of like bring certain attention to us that maybe some of us wouldn't want. For those of us that are unapologetic and are out there like, yo, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, stuff like that, it kind of does put that display out there of like, okay, this is where the line is in the sand, this is what I'm going to do, boom, unapologetically. That makes sense.
Yeah, so
without putting too much out there,
because the viewers can't really follow this too much, but you know,
I'm just bringing up the point of it though, like, you know, that it is something that's unapologetic, you know?
Yeah, definitely, guys. Get them flags, get them t-shirts. You really in this game, you should at least have one, you know, Black Trans Lives Matter shirt. Something, kind of something.
And actually, Roy, I got a Niambi shirt on the way. I ordered it the other day.
I'm waiting on mine.
So, I mean, you know, I think also something that's kind of gotten in the way lately is COVID. You know, there were, let's just be real, for the past year and change, there have been no in-person events for us to show up to. Right. So while, you know, we're starting to assemble and all that stuff, as soon as it's safe for these, as soon as these events are happening, like, because somebody was telling me about like New Year Pride and they might be trying to change things up. I'm like, yo, well, if they do, I'm there. Like, I'll fly out to New York to be there, or you know, they do a new march on DC, you know, maybe in the fall or something like that. Like, I'm gonna be the fuck out there. Like, I'm gonna be out there. We gonna have our own ride on the bus, ride the bus movie and shit. Like,
I'm gonna be honest with you. NYC Pride out here is totally different. It's like an all-out affair.
Yeah,
it'd be more straight people there than gay people or trans people. It'd be more straight people there. Like, believe me, I saw so many people I went to school with. They not gay or none of that. They just out there chilling. It was like, yo, it's popping out here. I'm here.
Yo, Trout, if it goes down this year, we there.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
But you know, part of being seen.
It went down last year.
Yeah, but I wasn't here last year. Though.
Oh yeah, it went down last year, unofficially, but it went down. It was popping.
I was at the Atlanta one.
All right. Okay, enough of the New York talk. All right, back to New York talk. Y'all get caught up in this New York stuff too much.
I mentioned ATL too.
Yeah.
The rest of the world out here.
Atlanta joint is way better.
So, what was I gonna say? Oh, these shirts and being visible. I mean, guys, wear these shirts out. Like, don't. I would say you're better served wearing the shirts just while you go to the grocery store.
Facts.
And while you are just out on the streets, it don't got to be a I'm trans attracted shirt. You can do a Black Trans Lives Matter shirt. I mean, you can do I'm trans. You can do whatever shirt, but if it's showing support for the community, do that shit when you just walk out caring about your day. And you know, because I think the more that people see that there are allies out there and that are men that's willing to carry this message, the better. I wish there were more guys. I wish, one thing that Black Lives Matter did, they were giving them flags away for free. I got a big ass Black Lives Matter flag that's free. Like, I feel like we would have to, maybe that's something that we do is just give out free, Black Trans Lives Matter shirts to the guys in the group and just, get them out there wearing it and shit. I don't know, but anyhow, I think if we organized a march, it would be like a march of like 10 people. I have to be honest. It would be a very small fucking march. At this point, we can't even get guys to show up in Zoom meetings. I don't know how the fuck you're gonna get dudes to be in the streets and fly to destinations to be in the streets. We're all largely decentralized. I'm in Texas. Roy, you're in Philly.
Yeah.
And Mike and Trail is in New York, but like a lot of us in this community, we haven't even met each other physically. I met Trail in October, but like my best transamorous friend that I've had for 5-6 years, I never met him in person. I'm about to meet him in person next month for the first time ever, and we've been straight up boys. It is all. This is like a whole ass internet thing because we're not together. Like we don't know. We're not hanging out every week. Like they're talking about, guys can organize for sports and all. We're not organizing for that shit.
No,
we're not in the same place. We don't have that. It's just I think there is a misconception about what it really is in terms of what our little small community is and our proximity to each other and how much we actually get together. I think there's a big misunderstanding about that.
Well, the problem is that some of them keep themselves away from our small little community to a certain extent that they can only go off of what they assume and not off of what they actually know from physicality.
Well, it's off their experience. You're like, oh, so you're like our community. So this is what it is. We all got together. Why can't you get together? And it's like, well, we're not you. And we're completely fucking different. You have 10 trans friends in your own city. I don't even have one. I'm sorry. For the first time in my life, I have one after I moved to Houston the year after last.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. No, I've only known my one transamorous friend in the same city that I live in. I've known him less than a year.
And it's also because like we're a new community too. Like we haven't been around like the length of time that they have. Like they've got decades in this.
Yeah.
We've got like few years, if that.
It is definitely that is true. But we've been DL and alone. We've been a lone wolf culture for so long that we've been in a closet. DL. It's just we don't congregate together.
Not all of us identified as DL, but
I'm saying for so long historically, men have been lone wolves, like Troy was talking about. All right, I'm messing with this girl. This guy that I know is messing with women. He talks about it all the time. His brother was messing with women in the community, and we haven't been coming together until recently. We just don't have a community. And there's so many niggas, it's like, well, I need to get together with y'all. I'm already getting what I want, which is just sex, which obviously those are the guys that we don't. We can help them move to a place where they want more than sex, or maybe just be honest about that's what they want. I think that was a huge thing for women in that conversation, is that men need to be honest. If they're going to be a chaser, be honest about it. Yo, I'm a chaser. I just fuck and I skeet and skedaddle. Like, that's my groove. That's what I do. Be honest about it. I mean, I think Vince in that conversation did a good thing, and I think he set a really good example. But, I think the problem is a lot of the guys who do what he does, they don't want anybody to know, so they can't be open about it. They can't be surface level. Like, they can't be transparent because they don't want anybody to know still. Like, I don't know. It's a whole thing. I have a cousin that's like straight up deal. So he's just like, he's just not in that space where he's a straight up chaser. He don't want nothing from women other than sex. But I mean, He supports sex workers. Silver linings. Anywho, Roy, was there anything else you were catching from that conversation, bro? Because I know you were straight up lit up in these comments, man.
Nah, that was basically it. I just feel we just gotta get out there. Like I don't know. The more we be seen, the more dudes that start to feel comfortable. The more they start to feel a little inspired, a little motivated, a little encouraged. But the more like I feel like we're part of the DL culture because we not shown, we not out there out there like that yet. So the more we get out there, I think the better things can be.
Absolutely. You know, I think with us getting out there the way that we need to, you know, I just think it takes financing. And when I say financing, because again, I'm a big believer of digital marketing because that's my profession. Been my profession for years. So, you know, if we were to do a, you know, campaign where we're like, you know, hashtag I'm transamorous or hashtag I'm trans attracted or, you know, whatever, hashtag I date trans women, and we all took pictures and it was all, you know, black and white. We did the whole, you know, campaign, so to speak. That shit's only going to go so far. You have to pump money to market that shit and put that shit in front of people as sponsored content. And, you know, if you don't know anything about Facebook, yeah, you can throw $100 at it. That might get you 16 to 18,000 people. If you do like nationwide.
I know about that shit.
Huh?
I said I know about that shit.
Yeah. So it definitely, it's, if you really want to do a campaign that truly reaches a shit ton of people, you're probably going to have to dump like 1,000 minimum into it where you can reach hundreds of thousands of people instead of, you know, and even at hundreds of thousands of people, there are hundreds of millions of people in this country. I think our American population is somewhere at 360 million. So at that point, we're still only reaching the select. So it's just like the amount of money it takes to truly break through and reach a shit ton of people is like, yeah, I think it's just different, y'all. So I think it's going to take funding, you know, and I think it's going to take a lot more of us just being visible at these events and like chronicling it, and then also getting help from. I mean, I think we can't do this on our own. We don't have the reach to do this on our own. I think what we really have to do is get the cooperation of trans women and other content, other non-trans content creators to post our content and get it out to their fans, their audience, so that they can spread it out naturally. And, you know, we can get more organic reach that way. But it's going to take coordination and effort. And, you know, I only have 200 followers. I have only 200 subscribers to my YouTube channel. I reach people on my stuff. That's great. I literally have thousands of hours watched of my content, but at some point it's a drop in the bucket, which, you know, what's her name? Nylee was totally cool with. And she was like, well, that drop in the bucket could create a wave on the other side of the planet. And that's cool. We'll keep dropping these buckets, you know, these drops in the bucket, but, you know, we can't talk about, well, if it's just a drop in the bucket, you know, it can be this, this, and this. We got to be cool with us doing that then. Because these, you know, transamorous content is not something that's achievable right now. But I don't know, guys, I'm going on. I'm still kind of just from this, but guys, please continue. If you have anything else that you want to address from the conversation that you heard.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, oh no, you go, Chuck.
The only thing I gotta address to y'all guys off the screen.
Bro, you're breaking up, man. Joe, you're breaking your signal up.
My fault. You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot better.
Yeah, what I gotta talk to y'all about, what I gotta say, I want to do it off the camera.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, off the line.
Well, cool. I mean, we can wrap this little post game thing up, but I think there was a lot of good points made in there, and I think that conversation was absolutely a step in the right direction. But I think we're going to stay in a frustrated point where if we don't do exactly as we're told and achieve what is believed that we should achieve tomorrow, I think we're going to get ourselves stuck, and there won't be any conversation had until we, meet the demands, so to speak. I think we're going to be kind of deadlocked in this space. So,
Well, I like the idea of like having at least one shirt that you can walk around with in public that shows your support for, the trans women and everything like that.
they already got that Black Trans Lives Matter shirts or
I know,
trans
but
shirts.
I'm saying put it in motion to where like literally all of us are more active in wearing it in public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we can definitely.
Well, I know I was today.
There you go.
Like I mean, the whole thing is like, a lot of times I'll wear my wristbands, like the trans wristband, Black Lives Matter wristband, stuff like that. But that's just like something small. But as soon as I have that shirt that I got from Yambi, I'm definitely going to put that in motion by wearing that out if I'm going to the supermarket or to the store or something like that,
For sure. And I think, I think it does take guys incorporating support for the women and for the community in their everyday lives. I think that is a very small thing that lands of a lot of men out there. But again, you know what? I would love to see guys who are deep in relationship, engaged, married, to be the ones kind of leading this charge. Why does it always have to be the single guys? Why got to be us doing it? And the married guys just kind of like, yep, I got my woman. Peace, motherfuckers. I ain't doing shit, and I shouldn't have to do shit. And it's just like, okay, nobody's holding the men. Y'all say y'all love us. Well, these guys actually said it because they took vows for that accord. Like, shit. I don't know. Maybe that can be seen as me shifting blame. But I just think
you're right. You're right. We need more role models. You're right.
I think that's it.
We need more examples.
And I think the examples that we're getting right now, and this ain't for me to say y'all niggas need to be doing this because that ain't how we operate here. I think the examples that I've gotten largely is that you get your marriage and you ride off into the sunset and you disconnect from community. And that's just what it is. That's what I have seen. Give me 1 second. But yeah, we can wrap this up, fellas. And, we will chat offline. But thanks to everybody who watched this. The whole thing was dope as fuck. And, yeah, I guess that's about it. So till next time, y'all.